Good evening, YouTube world. I'm your host, Paul Italia, and welcome to episode 75 of the Arm Wrestling Buzz. We got the Arm Wrestling Buzz crew in the house. We got Matt Hollywood Conley, and he is back home from India, 3 weeks away from his computer, but he's back, fellas. So we're gonna have the cool. We'll have the video sharing, and he'll be able to talk with everybody in the chat today. We're not coming in from a motel room, so that's a plus.
Yeah, look out, Ryan Grondon.
And then we got the legend in the house. We got my coach, Bob Brown. What's up, Bob? How are you today, brother?
Oh, I'm doing pretty good. I'm just down here at my southern home, running away from the cold weather. And Tracy's actually out doing a horse competition this week. So I've been just here with Rogue, just being a bachelor.
Very nice, very nice. So, Bob, I wanted to kind of catch up with you because I know last time we had you on, you just came off of your surgery and you were just starting the whole recovery process. So, first off, I just want to see where you're at with your recovery and all.
I'm doing pretty good. I've been arm wrestling again. You know, I practice every week. I work out, at the gym as hard as I'm able to work out. The strength is coming back pretty good. My wrist is still a problem. I mean, I probably should have never had that wrist surgery. When I tore my bicep tendon, I thought, well, I've needed this wrist surgery for a decade, and maybe I'll kill two birds with one stone. Well, I should have just left the wrist alone, and then I would be 100% right now if that was the case. But anyway, I'm hoping to pull. I really don't know when my first tournament is. I mean, my tournament is the John Brezink Cup. It's November 16th, and of course, the after party for me is the best. There'll be 100 people literally at my house. We'll have 12 arm wrestling tables going, and I want to be able to pull real hard at that. And so that's my current goal, is the after party.
So November 16th, we got the John Brezink Cup. That is great. That's going down in Utah. And then, like he said, he's going to bring everybody back to Bob's Barn, which is a very famous place if anybody's been there before. And I got the train there a few times. We made a whole video series and all. If you guys haven't already, make sure to get over Bob Brown's channel. He has all whole bunch of great training videos. We did a full series. I think it was like 10 episodes. He's also did some training with Pavlo, which is on there, and Sarah Bachman. So definitely great for the beginner arm wrestler, even an experienced arm wrestler. Definitely get over there and make sure to subscribe. And how long are we past your surgery now? Like, how long ago did that happen?
November 10th of last year. So we're over 11 months. I really fully expected to be 100% at the 8th month mark, but I guess when you're almost 60, I'm 59. Things just take a lot longer to heal up.
So Matt was asking, he goes, anyone else hear something that sounded like a duck just then? It's gone now. I'm going to guess that's Rogue. That's Bob's dog, and he was probably drinking out of the water. And if you've ever met Rogue before, Rogue is a monster.
That's exactly what it was.
I knew right away. I knew that.
I was so confused. I was like, is that my mic? Because I was muting my mic trying to figure it out.
I don't know if you can see Rogue over there on the couch.
Yes, I see him over there.
Down on the couch over there.
Yeah,
that's exactly what it was. She was licking. She was drinking some water.
You should have seen my little dog, my little Pomeranian, which comes up the Rogue's like ankle, and seeing them together was the funniest thing.
Yeah. Rogue's. I think her shoulders are 32 inches high. She's a Great Dane. Oh yeah, she's a Great Dane, full blown. She's awesome.
So Bob, I want to hear more about November 16th. We know you have that great after party and you're really looking forward to that, but why don't you tell us more about like the actual tournament and, when is weigh-ins and what time does the actual tournament start?
It's November 16th. I think we're doing weigh-ins from like 7 to 8 o'clock at the venue. And then the next morning from like 10 to noon. And then it starts at noon. I do have a Facebook event out there. You can see everything there. You got to be 21 to enter, or just to come, because it's in a bar. So you got to be 21 just to show up at all, first of all. We don't do amateurs or novice. All we do is open classes, but we do triple elimination, so it gives the beginners, or not the beginners, because that's the other thing about my event. Basically, if I don't know you, or if you're not an already arm wrestler, you can't enter my event. There is no such thing as my event being your very first event, unless you come to my practice every week and I know you know what you're doing, because I've seen what happens when you put a whole bunch of pros against a whole bunch of novices. I've seen seven broken arms in one day before. So,
oh my God.
WAL did an event where they put pros and amateurs just put them all together, and a lot of amateurs think they can just shoulder roll people right to the pad, and I'm pretty sure there were 7 broken arms that day.
Damn.
And so
what?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But anyway, and then, so that's basically it. And then I think what were we doing? 5 weight classes, 6 weight classes, left, right, women. I've always tried to do some big, I flew in Gabby last couple of years, and we had some big women's classes and things like that. I've done round robins and different types of super matches, but we're having one super match this time that I have been wanting to see this match for 5 years, for longer.
Oh, I know who you're going to say.
Exactly. And I finally, the stars have aligned. Corey Miller always does. He's been doing my brackets forever. And so obviously he's going to be there. And then, Craig Tullier lived in my guest house for 2 years, and I wanted them guys to pull at my event, but it wasn't working out because somebody had a match, someone was injured, whatever. They couldn't do it. But when Craig moved back to Louisiana, a lot of people don't know, Craig's daughter took a job in Salt Lake City, and she lives in my guest house. So Craig's coming up to arm wrestle, visit his daughter, and so Craig Tullier and Corey Miller, and everyone thinks this match is Craig is just, they're both real fast. Craig is super strong. Craig's just gonna kill him. That's what a lot of people think. It might be true. I mean, I don't know, but I've seen Corey Miller smack Jordan Sill, Cody Merritt, John Brzenk, Pavlo to within this far of the pad. From a leverage standpoint, Corey has the advantage. Corey's arm's a little taller, and he's going to hit right into Craig's hand. And at the end of the day, people ask me why I want to see this match. It's because I don't really care who wins. I just want to know what happens right at the go. These are 2 of the fastest, hardest hitting arm wrestlers there are. And I'll give the strength and the speed edge to Craig. But then when you give the leverage edge to Corey, I don't know what the frick's going to happen. So I just want to see it.
If you had to bet one of the houses on it, who would you put it on?
If I got to bet a house over its best of, actually, this one's only best of 3 because then they're going to pull the tournament afterwards.
Okay.
I'm gonna go with Craig. Although I'm gonna go with Corey is gonna win the first match.
Oh, okay.
Because I've told people this, and I've told Craig, I've told Giannis Omlins, I'm like, you know, when Coach Ray asked me, why do I think Corey is going to beat Craig or beat Giannis Omlins? I said, because he's stronger and faster. I mean, and I'm still convinced Corey is stronger and faster than Giannis. It's just that when the match stops, Giannis knows how to arm wrestle way better than Corey. And the match stopped. And then he got out arm wrestled. I don't think these two guys, their technical arm wrestling ability is, the same. Craig's is better. And so, I mean, he's stronger. And so I got to go with Craig. But I would not be surprised if I lost.
Steve was saying, what kind of food will be available at the event?
Unfortunately, not a lot. So this is at a bar that I used to own. We served like hot dogs and stuff like that. I will say that there will be some things like hot dogs and stuff at the event, but this is a bar I used to own. I'm still very close with the owner. If you want to bring food in, that's fine. There's a fantastic restaurant called Moochie's across the street. They got pretty first-class Philadelphia cheesesteaks and subs and things like that, and you can just go buy one and walk it across the street.
Robert Kelly says, ha ha ha, Berzin Cup was my first event. I guess he got under the radar with you over on that one years back. But
well, I don't think it's true because he can't even spell Berzink right.
Caught you, Robert. Caught you. So, what other matches do we have? Do we have any other matches set up, or that's the only one of the day?
That's the only one, and that will, for those who have never been to one of my events, if you're coming, weigh-ins go from 10 to noon. If you're not there until 12:01, don't bother showing up because you're not getting in my event. I don't do late weigh-ins. The Corey Miller match, that will go right on the dot of noon, maybe even a couple minutes before, because I like the first match to start pretty much at 12:05, because with Corey doing the brackets, pretty much as soon as we're done weigh-ins, it usually takes him literally like 2 minutes, literally, and then we can go. And so we'll do the super match while Corey gets the brackets ready, and then we're rolling. And, my goal is always to be back at my house with a cocktail in my hand, sitting around a fire, eating a slice of pizza by 4:30, 5 o'clock.
Nice. That's the way I like it. Real quick tournament and then right to the after party. And this tournament, because I got rid of this Calcutta that we used to do, I wouldn't be surprised if we're done with this tournament in 3 hours, 3.5 hours. So. Now, is there going to be a place that we could watch it live? Because I really want to see the Craig versus Corey match.
Yeah. So Dave Wilson, he has a YouTube channel called Tull Armwrestling.
Yep.
And we just stick a camera, it's kind of a downward angle, just a one single downward angle shot. It's free. So if you don't like it, tough.
Drew, if you could share that link, I'd appreciate Utah Arm Wrestling. And I got to meet Dave. Dave's a great guy. Every time I went out there, we did a few interviews and a bunch of clips together. Lots of fun with that.
Yep.
So this weekend over in Montana, we have a big event. And the reason why I'm bringing this up to you is I don't think she's officially on your team, but I know that you do train with her and help her out sometimes. That is Jolene Anderson is going to be pulling.
She's my daughter, basically.
I'm sorry. So she is on the team. She's at all the practices then. Okay.
She lives about an hour away. So no, she doesn't come to practice as much anymore, but I have literally known her since she was born.
Wow. Okay.
Her dad, Jim Richards, is one of my very close friends. You ever see the match with Todd Hutchins and Craig Tullier, where Todd finally gets Craig into a hook, and he starts looking around, and he's like, "Where's Bob?" And I'm taking him to Camus.
Yeah.
That move, what he calls "I'm taking people to Camus." That move is Jim Richards' dad's move that he learned from Jim Richards, and so yeah, she's like my daughter. I wish I could be there because wait, I'm gonna interrupt you because the girl she's arm wrestling,
Madison Walker. You used to train with Steve Walker, right?
And me and Steve Walker were like two of the original New Jersey guys. So
yep,
this is pretty cool.
Yeah. So have you been helping her get ready for Madison Walker?
Not a little, but not really. I just told her what I think she should do. And like I said, she can't really come to the house as much because she lives, about an hour away, and she's got family and husband and jobs and all that stuff. But we've talked about it. What just happened?
We got this is Utah Arm Wrestling.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Actually, click on that link that said the highlights of with Jolene, the one below it. Click on that. So there's Jolene. Wow. And when Todd was at my house just last Thursday or 2 Thursdays ago, we basically stuck him on a table and everybody got to arm wrestle him twice. And Jolene was the only one to beat him both times.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me, who do you think is going to be the favorite in that match, man? Because, both of them are real beasts on the team. I know Jolene's got the experience over Madison, but Madison's definitely, she looks very, very strong.
Yeah. And honestly, I don't know. I got to go with Jolene because I know Jolene. I know how strong Jolene is. I've seen Jolene beat a lot of, super solid people. I honestly, I left New Jersey, 30 years ago. So I really don't know Madison at all, other than, I've met her a few times, obviously, and she's Steve's daughter. But I really don't know how good Madison is. So I got to go with Jolene. I mean, I could be wrong, but I just really don't know.
That's what I was saying. We were on my Sunday night, come hang out with Italia. I just started a new show on Sunday nights, and I let the community come and join. And, all the East Coast guys, they call themselves the City Slickers, and they're coming to go against the country folk in Montana. And everybody had, Jolene written off because they don't know her. They all know Madison and how she goes and destroy. So they started saying that, and I stopped them right in their tracks. I'm like, oh, you guys have no idea. I'm like, Jolene is an absolute beast.
Yeah.
I see all these ladies, top class ladies coming out to train with you. And, Jolene is like the queen of your practice over there. And,
yeah, she destroys all the girls at our practice.
And you guys have an official squad over there. It's not like you just have one or two. You guys
look at this right here. This girl who's pulling Todd right now, that's Jessie Androvic. That's Mike Androvic's daughter, who's from the East Coast. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if she has arm wrestled Madison Walker.
Okay.
She might know the best of who can win because Jolene can beat this girl pretty easily. And I have, for all I know, Madison can beat her too easily. I don't know, but she'd be a good girl to ask that question to, Jessie Androvic.
Oh, wow. We got to definitely ask her that.
Yeah.
And Buddy Hale says, Robert, always loved your work. Proud of you for doing what's right for you. Glad to see you're still hanging out in the chats. Yeah, Robert is an amazing camera guy. I don't know, Bob, if you know Robert Kelly. He does a lot of all the big organizations, camera work, and I think he did at the Monster Factory. You might have been at the Monster Factory when he did.
Yeah, no. I know. I met Robert. Yeah. Yep.
So now I want to get into. Actually, I want to rewind a little. I want to talk about Craig Tullier's last match that I got to see him up at Knuckles Up 4, and that was in New Jersey, and he went up against James Wall, who was this kind of nobody really knew him. in the States at that time. I did, because I watched him at Arm Gods, and he every time I've seen him at an event, he always won match of the night. So I kind of knew who he was coming into it, and everybody else was like, oh, Craig Tullier, he's gonna kill him. And I'm like, this is gonna be a war, man. Like, this guy James Wall literally has a wall in the center. Like, he is
Right.
So what was your thoughts on that, man? Did you know of James Wall before that match?
I didn't. I really didn't. So, similar to the Madison Walker deal, I would have just assumed that Craig was going to kill him. And I knew he was, I think he was a bit heavier than Craig, 20 pounds or whatever. But, I think these promoters, Knuckles Up and these guys, they're getting good at putting matches together that are good matches. And so I trust their opinion. So anytime, like, I knew that, and I'm like, well, I mean, this Wall guy can't be too bad. I mean, he's got to be pretty freaking strong. Otherwise, why would they bother putting him up against Craig? So they must know something I don't, which is easy, because I don't know, matchmaking that well.
Well, the States, good matchmaking in the States, but you're not always on top of like the international guys.
Right.
And, me and Matt actually have a show that you're gonna enjoy. I know you are. We're doing the Arm Wrestling Buzz International show. We're gonna do 2 a month to start off with, and what we're gonna start doing is go into those other territories that these guys have big names in their own country, but nobody knows them in North America at all. And we're gonna start bringing spotlight to these guys. Like I'm saying, like such as South Africa, a lot of the Britain guys. There's a lot of great arm wrestlers there. Yeah. South Korea, Japan, so we're going to start kind of working on getting them more known out here. And, because I kind of been inspired by what Knuckles Up's been doing. And, I've never knew anybody before from Japan or South Korea, but now I'm like, I got like a bunch of them that I'm big fans of. I really watching these guys, and, they're a lot of fun. So now I'm like, all right, I want to find more. So we got this young phenom, Rickard Bornman, and he's actually pulling this weekend. They got that 8-man double elimination event that Matt Conley and AWE's putting together, which I'm representing their shirt right now. You're going to want to check it out, Bob. It's Sunday morning. It's they're going to put out an edited version and all. It's going to be amazing. I've been interviewing all the guys on it, and what they've did is they just went and got the biggest monsters from New Zealand, Tahiti, Australia, and they're trying to get somebody that could have something for this Rickard Bornman. Rickard is only 20 years old, 18 months in the sport. But this dude, he's already beaten Lachlan. They're saying that he's probably #1 in Australia. We still got to find that out.
How big is he?
6'3", 275 pounds.
Oh, so he's a big boy.
He's a big boy, and he's was a pro rugby player his whole life. I mean, this dude is a real athlete, and really great guy, great character and all. And he's going to be going back to his homeland in South Africa for a few months. He's got his brother that's 16 years old. That's another just monster.
Is that him?
Yeah, that's Rickard right there.
Okay.
And they're going to start training him up as well. But, when he goes back to South Africa, he's going to go around and, because he just started 18 months ago. So he hasn't been back in his homeland since he's arm wrestled. But everybody in his homeland is already hitting him up, all the big pros, because they want to try him out. They want to see. So he's going to get a bunch of the top guys to come on the show, and we're kind of going to put spotlight on them. He showed me, sent me an event I just posted on my Facebook for everybody in the chat. And, I got into it last night. They had Terrence Oppenheimer in there. I know he's made his appearance at East vs. West. Dude's an absolute beast. But I see what they're talking about. South Africa has some monsters. These dudes are big boys. One of them came out in a mask, and he arm wrestled the first 3 rounds in a mask. He was calling himself the grave digger and all. And it was definitely entertaining to watch. And, even the referee, the last match, he took off the ref shirt, and he ended up having a super match, which I think a lot of these guys wanted to pull him after, a couple of questionable calls throughout the night. But definitely so I want you to pay attention when we come out with this Arm Wrestling Buzz International show, man, because it's
Cool.
definitely going to get more popularity in a lot of these countries that, you know, North America really don't know about. And we need to put some spotlight on them for sure.
All right.
So that's this Sunday. Well, you know, I'll tag you when Matt puts it out there. And the other one that you're going to be real interested in is he has a ladies match. He has Ashley Horeta, who actually is the strongest bench pressing lady on the planet with a 700-pound bench press, which is just insane. 700 pounds, bro.
That's got to be with a bench shirt.
That's with a bench shirt. But
Okay.
yeah, I think she's like 400 without the shirt.
Okay.
So I mean,
Wow.
she's an absolute beast, and
Yeah.
she just got into arm wrestling like 1 year ago, and they have her going against the #1 lady of Australia. So it should be a really good match. Ashley's from New Zealand. She trains with Matarangi and a bunch of the other big beasts over there. So she's got a nice team of people teaching her and all. And she's going all in. She's got one more competition with the bench pressing after this. I think it's in like February next year. And then she's going full time with the arm wrestling. So that's a great thing also.
Cool. Good.
Now, what I wanted to bring you on about, brother, is you know, there's been a lot of talks about, you know, Waf and, you know, kind of like with the bands going on. And, you know, I think there was a lawyer that came on. We had him on the 98, and, you know, we were kind of talking to him about some of the stuff that Waf was doing. But when he was giving all the info, you know, my head was spinning. You know, I have more of education from you and, you know, others that have told me about the Waf and, you know, the past history. But I just felt like the chat, they didn't really, you know, they came in the middle of everything, and they didn't hear all the, like, the introduction and how did Waf originally split. So what I wanted to do with you, man, is, you know, I know your history. I know you were on the board back in the day of the original Waf committee for the, North America. And right at the split, I think that's when you walked away from Waf completely. But I just want to kind of like start from the beginning, like, you know, kind of tell us how Waf was formed, who was in charge, and all that great stuff.
Well, the beginning was back in, that's not, you don't really need to go back that far. It was like 1977. Waf was formed. And it came forth pretty much with, you know, because it was just a niche little thing back then, you know, no internet or nothing. All the way up until about 98, there was just one Waf in the world, in the USA. There was an organization that was called AAA, American Arm Wrestling Association, that somewhere in the 90s, well, the 80s or the 90s, Karen Bean ended up taking over, I believe, from Bob O'Leary. And Bob O'Leary was one of the original WAF people. So Karen Bean runs the AAA in the US. And there was lots of AAA events around the country, and you know, there was the Armbender magazine and all that. Anyway, but then in, I believe, 98, the World Championships were supposed to be in Canada. And then that back then, WAF said, we're taking it away from Canada. And Fred Roy was the president of Canada at the time. And I'm actually forgetting where they were taking it away to.
Why were they taking it away, though? Was there
well, it was the same as today, in my opinion. There was just corruption going on within the thing, and it was all about money. And the leaders back then of WAF were, you know, whether to use the word corrupt or not, I mean, I don't know, but let's just say people didn't like them, I guess. Well, so then the split happened. So now you have two WAS, because Canada still ran their worlds. And so I'm just trying to piece this in my brain. And so then what's interesting about that is you actually had two WAFs. They both called themselves WAF. They both said they were the ones who started since 1977. But at the end, so there was two WAFs for, I don't know, 5 years or something like that. What's interesting, which is different from now, is the split off WAF is the one that succeeded. The original WAF member, they're the ones who eventually died. The split off went, and Fred Roy was the president of the new WAF. He was voted in or whatever. And so then he's just the president. We're back to one WAF again, the WAF that we know today. And then the first.
Let me just ask you, how was there two WAFs? Are these like official companies they made at that time?
Well,
like they had an LLC and like.
Oh, I have no idea. I whether there was LLCs or they had copyright stuff, I have no idea.
Okay.
They were both claiming it, and so. But again, the original one eventually went away. The new one succeeded. Fred Roy's the president, and we got one WAF. And then part of the problem that you're asking about is what started all this crap is Igor Mazurenko and Assan. I can't pronounce Assan's last name, but Assan is the current president of the WAF right now. And those guys, they used to run the Zloty tour together. They were partners. Okay. And somewhere along the line, they got upset at each other. Okay.
Can you give us an idea? What years are we talking that they ran that Zloty from the beginning? 1990, early 90s.
No. I'm gonna. I think I was at Zloty in like 07, and it probably ran 5 years either side of that. I mean, I'm just guessing here. I'm terrible with dates, man. I gotta be honest with you.
Okay.
And so, but so in 2014, I'm going to bounce around a little bit. 2014, the Worlds were in Lithuania. In Lithuania, Igor Mazurenko was bringing the trophies, like the medals for the World Championships. And my understanding is he had them, but the WAF hadn't paid him for them yet. And so miraculously, they're not there. So there was one day they didn't even have medals to give away. And there was the electricity in the venue went out. My understanding is WAF didn't pay the venue the money that they were owed. And so they literally turned the lights out, literally. And so whatever happened, those issues got resolved. On stage, you've got Assan with the microphone, and they both got thick accents. So all I know is they were hollering each other on the stage with microphones in their hand. Clearly, they do not like each other anymore. That was in 2014. Now, let me back up just a little bit, because in 2010, the World Championships were here in Mesquite, Nevada, about an hour and a half north of Vegas. And there was that was the last year it was in the States. And you got to wait 5 years, I guess, before you can try to get the Worlds back in your country. So we wanted to try to get it back in 2015.
Let me stop you there for 1 second, though. How do you get a Worlds? Like, what do you have to do? Like, what's the requirements to have your country hold the Worlds?
Well, there's that's part of the story. So there's a bidding process. There's certain requirements, such as, you got to provide X number of hotel rooms for referees and scorekeepers and the executive committee. You got to provide some money for flights and things of that nature. The real specifics, I don't know. Because you did make a little bit of a mistake when you were introducing me. And that is, I've never been on the board of the WAF. I only sat on the board of the USAF when there was a board, and that's the organization that runs the nationals that qualifies you to the WAF Worlds. It's the entity that Simon Barachoa is now currently in charge of. Simon's there's no board now. It's just Simon by himself. But so in 2012, I believe, Bill Collins put in a bid for the Worlds for 2015. And that's when Fred Roy was the president. So we got the bid. We won the bid. There was a contract. The bid was put in. It was accepted. They signed a contract with Fred Roy, or with the WAF when Fred Roy was president. And boom, we got the Worlds for 2015. Nothing else is said. 2, 3, 4 years go by, whatever it is. And about, 10 months or so before the Worlds are supposed to take place in the U.S., they get another letter. I need to back up. Somewhere after we got the bid and before 15, maybe it was 2012 or 13, that's when Assan got voted in as president. So now Fred Roy's gone. Assan is president. But our contract's not with Fred Roy. Our contract's with WAF. So we have that contract.
It should be honored by whoever the president is. Can
Absolutely.
I just ask you this one question? How did Assan get elected in? Is it through the board? They vote on who they want?
It's a vote of Congress. I don't know how many countries are in Congress, 30, 40, 50, 60 countries. It's a vote. And he was, in fact, voted in. I even, there were some issues as to why we thought he'd be better. And I mean, even Leonard Harkless himself, lobbied to get Assan voted in. And he was. So, but then, again, now we're at the 2015 Worlds. About 10 months before, the WAF contacts Bill Collins, because he's the one who's, putting all this together, and says, we need you to sign a new contract. And the new contract now has a whole bunch of more rooms, a whole bunch of more flights, and they're expecting us to air on television. This was going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. It was never going to happen. They worked on getting it to happen. Bill, he's an honorable guy. He's like, all right, if you want to do this stuff, I'll try to get it done. But one, it was ridiculous to ask that. Two, what do you mean a new contract? We already had a contract. But it was pretty clear that Assan was like, hey, sign a new contract or we're just going to take the Worlds away from you. I mean, it was pretty just that point blank, which is complete bullshit, but that's what it was. And so Bill, not wanting to ruffle feathers, said, just take it back. We'll relinquish it. Go wherever you want to go. Now, what is funny about that is the real big crux was, of course, the TV, because it's so expensive. It's unbelievable. I believe the Worlds that year, 2015, 12, 13, 14, 15, ended up going to Malaysia.
Hold on. Let me read this out because this goes with this. Mr. Panut, he's been in the sport 40 years and knows a lot of stuff. And he says Waf had charged Malaysia 150,000 euros to sanction the event. See below. A little above the 3,000 that was the norm. I wonder why Assan took the Waf World Championship from the U.S. in 2015.
Well, there you go. And I knew that actually. I didn't know the exact numbers or nothing, but I knew something like that went on. So again, it's, all about money. And so to me, we all have heard about the butterfly effect. A butterfly flaps its wings and a tornado happens around the world. Well, that right there to me was one of the first times Assan, being the butterfly, flapped his wings. He just said, I'm taking these worlds away from you, which is, kind of like bullshit, and then, then you got the big argument the year before when Igor and Assan clearly don't like each other. Igor had created a thing called IRPA, which was the what did it stand for? I'm forgetting what the acronym stood for, but basically it was what Aries is today. It
was like a ranking system for the world.
It was a rating system. It was a rating system for the world. Okay. But here's what caused the argument. Igor was going to charge the arm wrestlers like $50 a year to be a part of this thing. And Assan wanted some of that money. He wanted half that money or some part of it. And Igor's like, no, this is my deal, my idea. No. And well, Assan didn't like that. And so now you've got just more of a fight. And so to me, there's a few instances of someone running a company more like a dictator than like someone who's part of a board. I mean, I would like to think, and I have no idea, but I would like to think if Assan called up Bill and said, hey, here's the situation we're in. I've got Malaysia that's willing to give me $150,000 towards our organization, but they want to do the World Championships there. And the WAF could really use this money to further our cause. I'll bet Bill Collins would have said, cool. Instead of saying, you must do this or I'm taking the worlds away from you.
So practically what he was trying to do without like asking that, he was just like moving the goalpost further and that being the TV. And, maybe TV on that side of the pond, you could get probably at a lot cheaper price. But over here, it's going to cost a couple $100,000 back then to get that to even happen.
What's interesting, and you can't quote me on this because I'm not sure, but when I went to Malaysia, because I was in Malaysia, I went to Malaysia. There was I don't remember TV being there. I remember it being streamed on like an internet type of thing. I don't remember it being on like, worldwide TV because people were saying, hey, how can we watch this? And like, I don't know. But you can't really quote me on that.
Mr. Peanut says, quote from Assan to Leonard, you are like my son. I am the father. You will follow my rules or you are out. And
that's another time when he kicked Leonard out of the WAF when he really didn't have the right to do so. Leonard was the head ref for the WAF, and I'm forgetting the exact story, but it was something like there was a girl who wanted to wear an arm sleeve because it's a religious thing to them. They can't, they got to not hide their skin or something like that. And I forget if Leonard was going to allow it or not going to allow it. I forget which, but whichever one it was, Assan wanted the opposite and basically threatened Leonard and then fired him on the spot, which he's not allowed to do. And so there again, another flapping of the butterfly's wings. Leonard wanted to go back to the Congress the next year and plead his case saying, this was bullcrap. And he was pretty much point blank told, hey, you might as well not show up because we're not going to let you in the Congress meeting, period. We won't even let you in the building. pretty much point blank what was said.
Do you have an idea what year that happened with Leonard?
That would have been 2009. It was either 18 or 19, whichever one was in Constanta or Romania, because I was there that year. I think it might have been 18 or 19. That was the last Worlds that I've been to. So
was that why that was the last Worlds you were? You didn't like that whole.
That was part of it. Yeah, no, that was definitely part of it. Well, then later, that's when this whole split happened. I think the IFA, that was, another straw that broke the camel's back. But my understanding is the big straw that broke the camel's back is the WAF. We used to have this announcer. I'm really forgetting his name, but he had like that awesome announcer voice, and everybody loved this guy. And Assan got rid of that guy. And that was like the real straw, from my understanding, that broke the camel's back. And IFA got formed. Now, people will say Igor is the one who formed the IFA. And other people will say, well, he's not really part of it because his wife is the one who sits on the board. All right, no shit. If your wife's on the board, obviously Igor is involved, and anyone who thinks that's not true is ridiculous. And so, obviously Igor is involved. But I don't think he's really the one who started it. It was a select, 4, 5, 6 people who decided to get together and say, look, the WAF and Assan, particularly Assan, I don't even want to use the word WAF as corrupt. I just want to use the word Assan. And so they're like, screw this guy. He doesn't run things properly. And the IFA got born, Do you
remember the year that it actually started? And one 19. Other question, 19. And the other question is, now before that, Leonard was the head referee of WAF.
Yes, for many, many years. I mean, probably 10, 15 years.
Okay. And now Mr. Peanut says 2018 at the Waf World Armwrestling Championship that Leonard was removed as the Waf head referee, a position that he held since 2002.
Well, there you go.
Right.
He's got, yeah. So Mr. Peanut was 2018, the Romania Worlds, because that it probably is. It's either 18 or 19 that the Worlds were in Romania, because I won. And I.
Now, do we have the original board? Do we remember who that was in 2019 that came together and started the IFA?
Well, I'm going to say, I believe you got Leonard Harkless, I'm thinking was in there, part of it. Then Denise, that speaker guy, Anders Anderson or Anders, something like that. And then Igor Mazurenko's wife, so Igor. And I do believe there was a couple others. And a little side note, I know when it was formed and everything was going, they approached the country of Turkey to join. And the president of the country of Turkey, this is from my understanding, said, hey, we're thinking of coming over to the IFA, the whole country, but I want to have a board seat on the board, on the executive board. And Anders basically said, well, I can't just give you one, but I'm sure you'll probably get voted in, so it shouldn't be a problem. But since he wasn't given one, they chose to stay with WAF. And if you think about that for a second, imagine for a second Turkey went with IFA.
That might change everything today.
Oh, that means Angen goes East versus West. I mean, then the shitstorm that we're having now would have happened years ago, because you still would have Assan on one side, which Assan is very powerful. WAF is an extremely powerful thing. They've got an ace in the hole that I don't know if IFA can ever get. And that is the affiliations that they have with things like Sport Accord that then allow all of the individual governments to give money to the countries. So if you talk to most of the countries in the WAF, because of those affiliations, they love Assan. I mean, they love Assan for that. And so and then for Assan to be able to say to one of those countries, do what I want you to do, or I'm going to remove your country from the WAF. That means you're going to remove the ability to get money from your government. That's you're holding a howitzer to someone's head. That's a big gun. And that is the gun that got held basically to Angen Tirzie's head. So when Angen says, I just have to do what, my government and what the WAF tells me to do, it's really a true statement. It really is. Because if Assan removed Turkey from the WAF, then they lose all that money. And they can't have that. So,
well, there's even more connection to that because Angen being on salary from the Turkish government to be the head leader so his salary would then disappear.
Exactly.
But at the same time, it also could be very conveniently used as a weapon against other organizations, which I feel in the last, year and a half, 2 years, that's what happened. But I don't want to get into that with you right now.
And I don't know what I told you, I know for a fact is true. What you're telling me might be true. I don't like to deal in mights.
Yeah, we have somebody else that we're going to do like a part 2, and we have a lawyer that he has his own opinion and he has paperwork to back things up, and also I want you to kind of just make the the history and the whole background, because now I feel like at least everybody in the chat kind of understands where WAF was built, the separation. One other thing that I do want to clear up though is when the board was originally made, what was the ruling for them to elect a president, and how long was that term supposed to be?
I have no idea. That for IFA, I have no idea.
No, I mean for WAF originally, because that's where I'm like in a little shock here, because Assan's been 30 years now the president. Wasn't there an original term like they said?
Okay, he's only probably been president for like 14 years. 12 years, pretty much 12 years. And I do know there is an election process. I don't know how often the president has to be revoted back in. I don't know that. It's whether it's every year, 2 years, 4 years, 6 years. I don't know. But like I said, because of those affiliations, because of money, it's going to be really hard to get Assan not to be elected back in as president. Because however he got those associations with like Sport Accord, here it goes, government cash, right?
Yeah, so Mr. Peanut says WAF is now member of AIMS, which a partnership with Sport Accord. Government cash and tourism is their focus. Read mission statements. They protect the stakeholders, the business of cash.
Right. So there you go. I mean, and my understanding is it's Assan, the one who was like, a key negotiator and all of that. So like Assan, look, I do not like Assan, okay, because I am more a principle-based guy than I am a financial-based guy. And of course, financially, I do fine. And so I can afford to say things like that. But, he's kind of like, to say something decent about Assan is, if you need brain surgery, I don't care if my surgeon is a fucking asshole, as long as he can save my life. And if it took whatever kind of backdoor dealing bull crap, assuming, and maybe it was all above board and legit for Assan to get those affiliations with those organizations to get money for arm wrestling and all the sports. I got to give the guy credit for that. So from a business guy, he's done well for arm wrestling. But as far as some of the other stuff he's done, it's like a dictatorship, which to me is ridiculous, because the only thing keeping IFA alive is the fact that WAF still bans athletes. If they took away them bans, IFA folds inside of 3 years, in my opinion.
So why don't they? I don't get why do they do the bans and all? Because it seems like whoever does go get banned, they're going right to the IFA. Like if it was a business savvy move, I would just eliminate those bans and, kind of just become one then.
Well, they've had. I'll give you what I think is the reason. I think it's a stupid reason, but here's what I think the reason is. They got rid of some people, like the Swedish team left. They went IFA. All these countries went IFA. A year or so later, the Swedish team came back. At least all the really top girls, because Swedish is really known for how good their girls are. Top girls came back. Krasimir, he left. He came back. I think that WAF thinks, hey, look at what we're doing. It's working. Let's just keep doing it. The problem is it's working very, 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 very slowly. By keeping the bands alive, IFA will stand its ground for many, 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 many years. You get rid of them bands, IFA is gone inside of 3-4 years. It's just my opinion. Because
everybody would then go to WAF because the whole rest of the world's involved.
The whole rest of the world would go there. Right now, the IFA World Championship. Let me give you an idea. Another. Take it for what you will. And I'm forgetting the exact numbers because I actually counted them. I think Assan is the president of Bulgaria, and that's what allows him to be the president of the WAF. First, you got to be president of your own country, and then you get voted in. And so Bulgaria sent a team to both the WAF and the IFA. They sent more people to the IFA than they did the WAF. And people will say, well, that's because the IFA allows more than 2 people per class to go, which is true. But I went through and backed every class that had more than 2 people. I removed all those people. They still had like 20 or 30 more arm wrestlers to go to the IFA. They had like 133 arm wrestlers at the IFA, and they had like 60 at the WAF or entries or something like that. It was so, Assan's own country apparently doesn't particularly think he does a good job.
Well, there's actually like a civil war going on with them in arm wrestling because you have Savetan, who is now, kind of was the other side, and he has a huge following there, and he's throwing his own events, and he's also aligned with Knuckles Up, and they're doing Arnold qualifiers and all that stuff as well. So, what I'm hearing is Savetan is a lot more popular. He's like the Angen Terzi of Bulgaria.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's interesting, if somehow Svetan could get his organization to be the organization recognized by his own government, if that were to happen, Assan's gone. Assan just is gone because only the recognized organization from the government can be in the WAF.
Well, I think that leads up to the whole lawyer story, and all the paperwork that the lawyer is bringing up, and he wants to discuss more. Now we kind of have an idea, of all the back history, and now I could kind of, it's hard with his he's not the best English speaker. It's his second language and all. So I really wasn't following everything, and my head kind of was spinning. But now I kind of, things are making sense to me now. And I think I'm ready to have the lawyer on and kind of give, after this, I have a good basis to go from. Well, Bob, I want to thank you so much for coming on and just clearing all this up. I'm also very happy to hear that your recovery process is going great. Also, one more plug is November 16th, we got the John Brezink Cup going down in Utah. So guys, definitely get over there. He's got an event page on Facebook. Go click that you're going. It's going to be a great time to arm wrestle. You're going to also get to see Corey Miller going against Craig Tullier as the super match, best of 3, which I think that's going to be a real interesting match. And then right at the end, everybody's going to go back to Bob's Barn, which that's like a famous place to go train with. He's got like 10 tables there, and they're going to have the big after party and all. So that looks like a lot of fun. So if you're anywhere in that area, it's definitely worth taking a drive and showing up there. And also get over to Bob Brown's YouTube channel. I know he never shouts it out, but I like to shout it out for him and all. And get over there. Any new arm wrestlers or somebody that's just want to, get more detail and learn some stuff. Bob is an amazing coach, and he really knows how to explain things. So definitely go and subscribe to that. Anything else you'd like to say?
Sorry, what's the top thing that you've learned from Bob? The number one tip that you've gotten that's helped your game?
This will be interesting.
He's got to think about it. It's a big draw in on the stogie before the answer comes. That's the buying time move. That's the secret behind Paul's success. He has the cigar so that he can think about his answer, but it looks like he's smoking.
So what was the biggest thing that I've learned is what you're asking from Bob?
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's all the exercises that, that he taught me that go with just the basics of arm wrestling in every position. And just knowing how to do those exercises in my normal routine, it just made me move naturally on the pad. The other thing is whenever I'm stuck with no real estate on the back of the pad, I always push my elbow forward and to gain leverage and height. So that has helped me out tremendously with me having a short arm. Now, the first time when I was over at Bob's, he kept saying, "Where's your riser?" And I was just like, "Bro, I don't need one," and all. And he's like, "Bro, you need to be on a riser. You need to be able to hook the way you're built and all." And I'm like, "Nah, I'm a high post and top roller. Travis always told me that." So he would just like, yeah, whatever. And you could tell it was kind of bothering him and all that. Well, now I finally put the ego away. And in the last 6 months, I haven't been on the table, but I've been training on a riser. I've been working on my hook and my press, and kind of just adding that to the arsenal. I'm going to learn in January when I get back on the table how I am in those styles. But I think once I do start competing again, I'm going to definitely get down to Bob a couple of times and have him work on me on the inside game and all that. And I think that's going to just bring me to another level, because I could just see when I'm on that riser and my weights that I'm moving are so much more, because I'm right over my hand, and I feel so comfortable going inside now. And I just remember I was so weak in that lane before, and now that big ass forearm I got, I'm actually utilizing. So I think that's going to be a game changer. And I also think knowing that I'm in the right class now, the weight class. So, I was trying to push that 198, and Bob kept saying, he's like, "You'll be a good arm wrestler in 198, but I don't think you're going to be knocking on the door to elites. I think, the hands are too big, the leverage differences." And he's like, "I think you would fit more in a 176. And I kind of was fighting him on that, and I wanted to stay in that 198. Well, now I'm seeing at 176, I think I'm going to be a problem for a lot of people. And I kept my strength. I'm actually stronger now than when I was at 198. So I'm really looking forward to the changes.
Do you still got that beer belly?
No, not at all, man.
Yeah, you got a bunch of fat down there?
Nah, nothing, bro. Got all 6-pack again, baby. Feeling back, because before I felt like I was pregnant all the time. I had to eat everything, all the garbage. So
all right, man. I appreciate you having me on here. I'm gonna
have a great night, Bob.
We'll hang out with my dog Rogue.
Sounds good, brother. Enjoy the rest of your night.
Gotta figure out how to stop this thing.
I got you, brother. Perfect.
No, we stay trying to figure it out. I love that. I love like when people are like, see you later, and then they spend 20 seconds trying to leave.
Well, we're about to bring on the next guest. I'm very excited about this. He's got a lot of big things coming up, and I'm gonna bring him on stage right now. And here he is, our next special guest of the night. We got Greg Sharp, who is doing huge things for the arm wrestling world. Just seen a recent post, which is November 2nd. He has the finals going down in San Diego at the World Series of Arm Wrestling, and see 100,000 going out in prize money and all that. He's got all these great sponsorships, and I wanted to bring him on and just kind of catch up with. He's got a lot of things going on, and I don't want to say the wrong thing, but I think he's got he putting us on different apps and all kinds of TV. And so what's up, Greg? How are you today, brother?
I'm good, guys. How are you?
Good, man. Good. So, what's going on, man? What do you got coming up? Let's break down into November 2nd to start off. Tell us kind of about these finals and all this big prize money you're putting out there.
Well, I appreciate that, guys. Yeah, life continues to develop and to evolve, and we are coming up 10 days out with the finals. It's super excited. We are, for the first time now, over 100,000 in cash and prizes going out for the finals, which is a big step for us. We just landed a big stem cell sponsor with Stem Regen. We actually have 2 new sponsors coming on for season 4, which should take our totals well beyond 100,000. And, it's just a good time. It's a good time for World Series of Arm Wrestling. We have looks to be our best final crowd coming in terms of athletes, and certainly we're pushing spectators now. At some point when you get through the regionals, the need to drive the awareness to come and compete and qualify is done when you get to the finals, because you already have a pool of people that can only come. And so we're now really concentrating on getting San Diego behind. I'd love to see us get 500-600 people out there for fans to cheer on, the event. It's a free event. There's going to be great food. It's at a bigger Harley Davidson. All the right components are there, more cameras, bigger stage. Every year we've tried to increase what we've done a little bit by little bit. I always try to rise as a company. I try never to peak at any one point. I think that as long as you're taking small steps and growing things in a consistent manner, it pays off. We are ready, geared up. We're excited, to say the least. I'm anticipating 16 or better in every class, including the super heavyweights, which would be a first for us. I think we have 16 committed to come, from what I've been told, and now hopefully they all show. But, in the past 2 years, Corey West has kind of dominated that on the right-hand side. Cody Merritt came in on the left last year to take the overall. But you've got some big names coming in for the finals. It'll be competitive on all levels. What can you ask for? You do all your homework, you put all the events together, you do the right promotional steps, hopefully, and it culminates here on the 2nd, and the proof will be in the pudding. Guys and the women are coming in, and I'm just we're through season 3 after that, looking at season 4. 3 years in any business are kind of the marquee points to get past, and we're there now. So we're super excited. I think that we're going to continue to rise and certainly do some really cool things then after the 2nd as well into the season 4 and beyond. So super happy.
I want to ask you if people want to go and they haven't booked anything yet. Do you have a host hotel where they should be hitting up, or where can they find out all the info? Is there an event page on Facebook or anything?
Well, the event page is still on armwrestlingseries.com, our website, but unfortunately, the host hotel now is done as of last week. So, San Diego is a popular place, to say the least. So when you start to put in the factors of the fall holiday people, football games, we will feel a lot of the fall sports, even from the LA crowd. I mean, the Dodgers are playing the Yankees, I believe, Friday night. But there's a good value of people that are staying in OC in San Diego that are going to be heading up that way. So hotel rooms are unfortunately blocked out for the 137 rate. They still have, I believe, a 20% discount at the Mission Valley Hilton Garden Inn. Our hotels all across Hotel Circle and Mission Valley, they're all within 6 miles of the location. But we as an organization have over 88 rooms booked for athletes and staff coming in. And that's 44 rooms, 2 nights, 88 rooms. That's a lot of rooms. That's a good number. We've got the very lovely and talented Sarah Backman coming in to support us. She reached out, and I reached out back, and she's going to come in and just bring your energy to our location. We got Don Underwood, who's going to be doing our MC for the event. I'll be the phone police, as always, walking around telling people to put their cell phones down. That seems to be a good job for me. And we've got a great referee staff coming in. I think there's going to be a lot of quality and consistency that you would expect in a big tournament. And with the anticipation, that people are going to leave with a very big energy level and carry it out, and hopefully tell more and more people that season 4 is where they want to be when it comes to a big money tournament, and that's what we're counting on.
Very nice. And Bob Anderson says Pablo said he could beat Corey West. Do we know if Pablo's going to be there at this event?
He is not. I actually got to finally meet him in Vegas at Bill's event, and he did not qualify at any of the regionals. So unfortunately, if you don't qualify in the open class or the women's or the masters, because we're giving away the watches in those classes and there's cash in the women's, you can't compete. Now, we did open it up today for amateurs. We've got a lot of calls last week that there's a lot of amateurs traveling with their pro teams, and they didn't make the regionals, and made an executive decision and said, you know what, as a whole, our pro participation this year was great. I think we had over 300 pros, over 60 events, or over 6 events, excuse me. But our amateur segment was not as big as we anticipated. So we have the Riverside guys, instead of just having a Riverside, Southern Cal, San Diego amateur final, if we've got 12 or 15 or 20 guys coming in from other cities and states, I said that there's no cash prize that's being fought for on the amateurs. So we're going to let some late entries come in, only to fill amateur classes, make it a little bit more exciting for the guys that are here local, that ultimately we pull each other almost every week anyway. So why not bring some new guys in and just have a fun experience? But if you did not qualify, you cannot pull in the open class. And Pablo and I got to meet, and he's interested in coming next year, especially with the possibility, if someone wins both their weight classes and the overall, they'll walk away with over $10,000 in cash, which is a big number. So I think that's something that got his interest up. I find it hard to believe that there's not more interest, but in anything you do, there's always choices. We just continue to try to give them a good choice to come out and compete with us. And if we get Pablo next year, awesome. We may get Who knows? Maybe Big Michael Todd will come in next year. You never know who will show up. Maybe Dave Chafee will decide to come out and pull. It's open. There's no restrictions for us. I call us the non-denominational league of the world. It doesn't matter who you're associated with, religion, creed, gender, whatever. You're welcome to join and pull. It's open for everybody to participate. So we're hoping to see what comes in season 4. I think as the money increases, the interest has to increase too, right? I mean, how many guys could sit back and let a $10,000 payday in their backyard go by? I don't know. I mean, it will be interesting to see next year. If I was on the upper levels, obviously I'm not. I say that because I know that, but I was on the upper levels of arm wrestling and I was a top 4 guy, or I thought I was a top 8 guy in the country, I certainly would look for events like World Series. And that's why we've kind of created what we have, because it gives not only me the opportunity to go out and prove myself to everybody else. I don't have to sit back and wait for matches to come to me. I can go out and actually pull the top guys in the country, but also I can get paid for doing it, right? I mean, at the end of the day, $10,000 is $10,000. I mean, even if you go to a regular job, a lot of people don't make $10,000 in a month. You can make $10,000 by going to a qualifier and going, for 3 days out in San Diego next year, 3 days worth of work, 10 grand to do something that you love. I think we're in the right path, but proof's in the pudding. We'll see who comes out in season 4.
Yeah, I think people hearing that $100,000 prize, I think that really got the buzz in the community. I know, like, when I seen it, I was in awe. I was like, holy shit. And I know you've been talking this up, but now we get to see the actual money that's getting out there. And I think next year you're going to see definitely a boom coming where, you're going to start having those top elites coming in and, because they're probably kicking themselves right now, realizing they could just, roll up there and win a quick 10K for the day. And I think that's going to be the game changer for you. And then I also hear a lot of other things that you got going that's going to make the buzz going with your league and all. And that's that reality show you got coming on, The House. And I believe that all starts in 2025. So I want to kind of hear about that now. What's all the details with that? I know you got casting going out, and if people are interested, where can they reach out to get involved with that?
Yeah, and I appreciate that, Paul. It's I look at business in a way that when people do successful things, you should look to copy in some degree, but make it your own, right? And so if you look at the growth of some major sports leagues, and specifically the UFC, they really hit their stride once they got into the Ultimate Fighter Challenge, created this reality series, gave the guys and ultimately women a chance to compete, but be able to be seen more, but develop personalities more than just the top elites. So the House is 2 teams. You're going to have Team Sheldon. You're going to have Team Williams. They're going to have a team underneath them, and I don't want to give too much of the specifics away, only because then it may start to balance or weigh on people to whether or not they should look to do it or not. But we're looking for personalities as well as top arm wrestlers. And they will go out and they will have competitions every week, not only on the table, but they're going to have some real life competitions. Without giving it away, they may be doing, maybe they're doing alligator wrestling. And I say that facetiously, they're not. So you don't have to practice out there, guys. You don't have to go down to Florida Keys and grab some alligators to figure out you can duck their snouts. I use that as an example. They're going to be doing weekly challenges outside the arm wrestling channel or arm wrestling table that we're hoping to make the atypical fan be interested. And that's what the whole value of the House is. It is to certainly have the arm wrestling community watch. I mean, that's our bread and butter, right? But it's to go outside the arm wrestling community and now make the sport more recognizable. And why I find that important, and I liken it to a situation that just happened only a few weeks ago. I was at an event in LA, and there you go, the Gator Boys. And ironically enough, if you watch Swamp People, RJ and the Molinas are arm wrestlers, right?
Oh yeah.
But if you go back to this equation in Hollywood at this event, I'm sitting with the drummer from Rat, and Bobby looks over to me and he's like, "Hey, you look familiar to me." And I laugh. I go, "Well, I build houses, I make independent movies." He goes, "No." I go, I've seen you somewhere before." And he goes, you're an arm wrestler. And I said, "Yeah, I arm wrestle." I go, "I won the World Series of Arm Wrestling." He goes, "Yeah, but you were on that YouTube video, beating my grandpa."
Yes.
And now, what that really means to me, is that people are identifying arm wrestling now for characters more than they are for arm wrestlers. And building the house builds the sport, because now we can identify characters in arm wrestlers to help be more universally accepted, maybe is the best answer. I said this the other night on Jody's podcast. I said, if I had $1 for every time somebody asked me if I know Devin Lorette, and everybody says, they always ask you, they go, "Man, I see that one guy. He's a guy in a green sweatshirt." I go, "Devin Lorette." They go, "Yeah, do you know him?" I go, "Yeah, I know Devin." And he goes, "Well, can you beat him? We saw you on Beat Your Grandpa. Can you beat him?" I go, "No, you got to understand, reality is not really reality, right? I mean, it's scripted TV." And but if I had $10 for every time somebody asked me, I'd be 10 times richer, because that's always the question that goes on. It's, do you know Devin, and can you beat him? And ultimately, Devin has made the jump, if you will, from athlete to personality, which has created a real win for him, as well as arm wrestling. And if we start to look at that model, and that's what I'm hoping the house does, is that we look at that model and we start to create personalities. We start to give people individuals that they want to tune into every week to watch. If we give people, storylines that are compelling, then what we find in the transition and then eventually the translation is that the fan base starts to grow. The numbers, the social media numbers start to grow. The unique views start to grow. The algorithm starts to grow. One of the successful things that we've been able to do in order to attract more sponsors is we've watched those analytics. We're not looking for 50,000 views on YouTube. Not that YouTube platform is bad. We're looking for 50,000 unique users to view, right? We don't want the same 5,000 people watching it 10 times. We want to see if we can get 50,000 people watching it once, and then get those 50 to watch it 5 times. And so when we start to look at that value of being on Tubi TV, and ultimately what we're launching here shortly after, is that by getting more what we'll call unique viewers and that analytic, hopefully what we're doing as a whole, not just for WSA, but for the whole community of arm wrestling, is we're starting to drive real attention on a sponsors basis, that people can go out then and then look and say, "Hey, I've got an event coming up and it's streaming on Inside Arm Wrestling news channel. I know they have 5 million viewers and they have 78 different countries that they're being seen on. Would you like your product to be on our show? We'll highlight it, and maybe that translates out to that local regional show to an extra $5,000 that they can put into production, or $10,000. Then now that they're not always counting on, that 150 entries to come in at $50 a clip, just to cover the cost of being there, and a couple dollars for themselves afterwards. So if we're doing those things, I think everybody wins. And that's always been my philosophy, is that, I'm just one person in the pie, but the one contribution that I can give is hopefully we get everybody to win. Again, I said it the other day, I could say I'm just going to keep this uniquely myself and not open it up for anybody else. I mean, I control an exclusivity contract now. And the answer really is that that's not what I want. I want to be able to grow the sport. I want to be able to grow each and every person who's in the sport outside of me. I don't, whether you promote, WSA or not, it really doesn't matter. Let me give you a voice. Let me give you a platform to be seen, and let me try to help you get, a revenue stream to promote your basis. And then let's see what you do. Let's see what you do as a promoter, as a business person, and let's see if your heart, your ethics, and your business model are in a good place, or if it's not. I mean, it'll be easy to see. But in the end, that's, I think, the best gift that I can give back to arm wrestling is not, just to have WSA, is how do I get everybody else to the top as well and get it to a point where everyone can succeed. Ultimately, some are going to grow faster and some are going to be better. I think that's uniquely, intrinsic in any business. You have bigger businesses, you have smaller models, but how do we make them all, solvent? How do we make them all, can create a value to their local arm wrestlers, to their regional arm wrestlers, to their states, to their nationals, and even to the world side. And if we do that, I think what we'll find in the U.S. is we'll find that arm wrestling, maybe for the first time in a long time, will become an avenue for athletes to be able to make a living and be able to compete on the highest stages on a consistent manner and maybe even dominate. It would be great to have 50 athletes in America be able to go out and say they're professional full-time arm wrestlers, and then maybe 100, and then maybe 200. And guys and girls to be able to compete and to train and to grow in the sport full time, like a baseball player, like a football player, like a basketball player. I think that would be the true testament of a legacy that I personally can help hopefully promote and create and grow. And if that's where the sport can go, then we're in a great place, right? I mean, that's. If you truly are behind arm wrestling, if you're gonna chant the mantra, I'm all for the arm wrestlers, I'm all for the arm wrestlers. Well, guess what? Here's your chance to prove it, right? I mean, get on board, sign up. We're creating these opportunities. We're giving you the lion's share of the money, and now we'll find out. We're going to figure out who's going to use it to their advantage and grow, and those are just going to continue to chant the mantra and not go anywhere. But ultimately, I'm trying to make it so that we all can get there. And that's, at the end of the day, Greg will never be known as the best arm wrestler that sat on the table. He may be known as the guy who lost to Allen twice on YouTube, which is okay. Beat my grandpa is fine. But hopefully, WSA and what we're doing will be known as the promotional or the business that finally kind of broke through on a U.S. end that put us in a position to really grow on our turf.
I'm loving what I'm hearing, man. I think that's also the key to get the youth in, is when you make them, when you go and you make those 100 or 200 professionals that could make a living off of arm wrestling. Now it's something appealing for, young kids coming up. They can watch the characters on TV and say, I want to be like that. Where right now it's more viewed as a hobby. Most people don't even know it's a sport that's taken seriously. So, I like where you're going with this. And we have a comment from Mr. Peanut, who's he's been just amazing comments all night. He says, Game of Arms was never about competition. Same way the Deadliest Catch was never about fishing. It was to get you vested in the characters. Steve was king of reality TV. So what was your thoughts of Game of Arms? What did you like about them? And did you see anything that they did wrong that you're going to switch around?
I try never to emphasize negatives, right? I mean, I'd say that sincerely. The Game of Arms was maybe ahead of its time in some value. It fell on a platform that wasn't ready for its success, and I think what happened is that in anything you do on TV, there's a lifespan. Sometimes it's 1 minute, right? It's getting to Netflix, them buying your show, and then putting it on a shelf because they've got to show 3 shows down the road that they're just taking your show so it doesn't compete against them. And you never known it. You never knew it. You just got your check and the show never came up and you're like, what happened? Well, we're still evaluating it. You got paid. I think Game of Arms was a little bit ahead of a time. I believe that was Jansen who was the promotional production team for the Game of Arms. I don't know that it was Steve Kaplan. I don't know that it wasn't. But I don't think
they were working together. Jansen was in charge of the production and making the Game of Arms, and it was going together with the WAL series. So they were in kind of working together on it. But that was Jansen's whole thing project,
right? And I think what Jansen was trying to do, and again, I being third party is always a hard thing to do. Just trying to give an analytic look. I think they realized that the value of the TV show had to have some sort of meat in the market, right? I mean, to be able to, it's almost like merchandising. Wall was kind of the merchandising end of it, if you look at it on a business end, right? How do you take the characters that you're developing and then put them into real life situations? The things that I think were really well done with Game of Arms is that, it brought a unique factor of personality to the end user. Again, the atypical end user of arm wrestling, that people would tune in and you flip it as a Game of Arms. What is this all about? And you've got the team from New York, you've got the team from California, you've got the team from Detroit, and all of these kind of gritty, blue collar, push, shove, chalk flying, values. I think if they put it on a different channel, it probably would still be going today. I think that they just landed on the wrong platform at the right time, and that was really the crushing blow to it.
Somebody's saying, where can they sign up? Spacey, he's saying, where do we sign up? So I guess he's talking about the casting for the house that you got going.
That's melissarsg@gmail.com. That's the email. It's on the flyer. If you look on the bottom, it was, I think, in bold print on the bottom, Melissa RSG. RSG is Ready, Set, Go Distribution. That's my distribution company. So we'll be casting it. There you go. Melissa at ReadySetGoFilms.com. RSG is the distribution company that I own. We just don't distribute arm wrestling. We have 150 filmmakers and producers. We're going to probably eclipse 500 films this year that we have on streaming platforms around the world. So RSG is kind of the business behind the business of getting us to where we need to be. G2F Film and Television is my production company, and we just opened up G2F Media Group, which is now the global platform that we're really looking at within the next 5 to 7 years, challenging. We're hoping up at the Hulu, Tubi, Paramount end. I brought on some real big heavy hitters in the world of media to help support it. So the growth after we shoot I shouldn't say after we shoot the house, because the growth is actually going on now. Inside Arm Wrestling 24-hour channel is about to launch. It's going to be on the largest Tier 2 sports network, which we're going to announce right after the finals. And then after that, we'll be on 3 of the larger Tier 1 sports and streaming channels in the world. If you're Tier 1 is your top 20, we're going to be on 3 of the top 20. So it'll be a very large group of eyeballs that will find us for that channel. And ultimately, everybody's content is welcome. I've reached out to a lot of people, even stuff like this, guys. I mean, we could put your podcasts on a live TV segment. We can revenue generate it for you guys. We can create sponsors behind it for you guys. There's a lot of opportunities here that are going to be wide open, and content is the king, right? I mean, if you look at ESPN, when ESPN first came out, they started with a very small conglomerate. Now you can watch cornhole and pillow fighting and break dancing, and Paul, I grew up on Long Island. I know you're a Long Island guy. I tried to do the thing with my hands. I'll throw it back at you a little bit there, but no, these are all great things that you find on ESPN. And inside arm wrestling, you will too at some point here, not too long from now. But ultimately, we're trying to open this up to get everybody out there a fair chance to be able to grow their platforms, be seen, be heard, build their social media networks, be able to remunerate around their values to be able to sustain. It would be great for the Matts and the Pauls and the Jodys and everybody else to be able to make, a strong 5, if not 6 figures off of their podcasts and have a growth value to be able to do what they really love to do and they're good at. I mean, you guys are good at what you do. Having babbling buffoons like me on is probably takes the numbers down a little bit. But, ultimately, if you guys get seen, your platforms will grow. And that's what it's all about. And so there's going to be plenty of opportunities there. And it's going to be a fun ride.
I'm really loving the house, bro. I've heard it so many times, but you're actually putting it into action. And, I think that is the key. I was at the beginning of UFC. I watched everything, and it was that reality show that is when it just totally took off. And, we've been, me and Travis kept saying it since I've been in the sport. He's like, that's what we need to do. That's what we need somebody to get involved with. And to see that you're actually got it in the works and you got the casting out and, you with your background with a production company and a distribution. I mean, that is, you pretty much are the all-in-one that could make this happen. So I'm really excited about it. I want to hear more about that. Like, so how many people are you actually taking on the show, and what is the time frame here? Because I know a lot of people can't just, can't take off for a couple months. Like, how long do they need to have available to come and, live in the house and all that kind of stuff?
Well, without giving away too much of the magic of Hollywood, there'll be about a 2-week commitment and a little bit more after that in the April month. It will end up being a shot with the finals on June 28th at the regional to start the season 4 of World Series of Arm Wrestling. We're looking at five athletes per team plus the captains. The weight classes are going to be WSA weight classes. So we're going to be looking at 76, 209, 239 and super heavyweight. And there'll be a wild card in there. Obviously, if you have a captain and 5 athletes, there's got to be that one wild card. I don't want to go too much into that because, again, it kind of throws the gist of the house. I mean, certainly after the first season, the cat's out of the bag, right? So, but until we get that out, I really want to keep it a little bit closed on our end. But they're going to be fighting and arm wrestling and competing for $10,000. So that's a pretty good prize. If the people that might be concerned that they're not going to, we're going to pick up the hotel room, before they get into the house and the travel costs. And, we're going to offset the cost of being out there on some levels. Obviously, we're not going to give you a paycheck that would emulate what you do for a living, but, we're going to try to make it as painless for you to participate. There will be a commitment of time, so you're going to have to take some time off of what you're doing to be able to participate. But when you put in that email to Melissa, we'll start reaching out here in the next 2 weeks to start talking to every individual about that commitments they are. And ultimately, the first thing that we'll start with that, guys, is everyone who will want to find out more will have to sign an NDA. And what that really means, it's a non-disclosure agreement. We're going to step into talking to you about what the premise of the house is, what it's going to look like, how it's going to work. You may make it, you may not, but we're going to keep you under at least the lock and a key for that time frame until we air it. And then, of course, the NDA goes away because then, obviously, the show is out. You can talk about it. But that'll be the first thing. Once we get the NDA signed, then we'll go to a casting pool. The 2 team captains will cast out of that pool, and then they'll come up with 2 teams. And then, they're going to find out the fun way what LA is all about. As the song goes, we love LA, right?
Well, I kind of hate LA this week, brother. They're playing the New York Yankees, so I'm at war with you guys right now. So
Listen,
I got to ask you this, bro. It's a tough question for you, man. I know you're from Long Island originally. Yankees or LA Dodgers this week?
I'm going to go with the Yankees, and here's the reason why.
Smart man.
I'm not a Yankee fan by trade since I'm in San Diego. I've fallen into the Padres faithful, Friar faithful.
What a
group.
team they had, bro. Holy shit. I thought they were going to do it this year.
We did too, but you know what? At the end of the day, pitching counts, and we lost Musgrove, and that's our top pitcher, and when we needed him the most, he was on the IR, and it happens. I'm an Aaron Judge fan. I really love to follow him. I think he's a unique baseball player. I really think that if he could stay healthy for 5 or 6 straight years, he might be able to challenge up to the all-time home run record. I think that's in his grasp. But it's injuries, right? I mean, Ken Griffey Jr. to me is maybe the best home run hitter that ever lived, with the understanding that he was hurt 60% of the time. If he had 80% of his seasons, at least 150 games, he would have 800 home runs right now. But injuries failed him, and Aaron had some injuries, and but he's well over 300 home runs in 10 seasons, I think, and he's a young man, and the DH plays a big part in people's lives. So if he can average 45 or better for 10 seasons, that should get him to the high 700s. LA, I've got a function in LA. They just did a stay away from LA TikTok with all of the things that are going on between game 1, the Lakers, 3 concerts, all this kind of nonsense. They think it'll be the highest traffic day of the year in LA Friday night. And that's just sickening. So, but ultimately, believe it or not, I'm a Houston Astro fan before they went to the American League. I grew up on Long Island, as you know, and my father and Craig Biggio's father worked together as air traffic controllers. And I knew Craig growing up, and I always had liked the Astros anyway, back with Nolan Ryan and J.R. Richard and Jose Cruz and Cepeda and Cedeno and Art Howe and all those guys. And then Craig went there, and that was a great treat for me. And but then when they moved to the American League, I stopped following. So that's
when they started cheating and doing all that shit.
What's that?
When they started their cheating against the Yankees and all that. Yeah, we still don't like them over that one.
You know what? You're never a cheater till you get caught, right? I mean, that's what it comes down to.
They got caught, though. The coaches took the downfall, though, not the players.
They got caught. But you know what? I always say in life, a lock makes an honest person honest, right? So, if you don't put the controls around somebody, you leave it open to human instinct, I think, and the human instinct and competitive nature is to win, right? You look at Harbaugh out in Michigan. He claims that he never sent those scouts out to read lips and read signals, and then all of a sudden, it comes out that he was the catalyst to get that one guy, a CIA operative who retired, I think it was, or what, FBI or something. And what he would do is he'd go around to all the Big Ten schools, and he would watch the games on Michigan's dime, and he'd come back, and when the big games were, he had all the signals and had all the signs, and you gotta, there's always a way, right? I mean, it's human nature, unfortunately, but hopefully the game is clean. What better 2 teams than to watch for the World Series than the Yankees versus the Dodgers, though? And if you look at it, I mean, that may be the greatest rivalry of all time.
This is going to be the 12th meetup. Yankees won 8 of those, and these are the 2 big teams, the 2 big money teams. And when have we ever seen the 2 best players on the planet going at each other? Might be the top 3. with Soto thrown in there as well. And I mean, you got all these eventual Hall of Famers, Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman, Ohtani, Soto, Judge, Stanton. I mean, it's just amazing. And this is what baseball needed. It needed its comeback. I think this will be one of the most watched World Series ever. So I'm really excited. And just so you know, Greg, right before the season started, I went to Atlantic City, and I just had the feeling when Soto was when we got him on the team, and I placed a substantial bet, and I kind of just forgot about it during the season. I wrote it off a few times, after, the first half, they were on fire, and then they really cooled off, and I was just kind of curse them, and I just wrote off that. But yeah, I bet in at plus 550. So if they win this weekend, I am going to be one happy person, guys. I'll tell you that. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll be tuned into every game watching that for sure.
That'll be amazing. I'm pulling for you, and I know that. I say I know, but I only know it from one half. So now I have the other half here on the podcast. I know from talking to Tim Talmadge that you and him had a bet going back and forth through the season, Boston versus the Yankees.
Yep, and I destroyed them on that. And then in the playoffs, I've destroyed them. I had the New York Mets and the Yankees in every game we bet. So yeah, Tim's into me as well. And then I placed another bet with another LA guy, Travis Provencher. And our bet with that is we're going to get the replica of the World Series champion. Whoever loses got to get it engraved for the other one with the series what it was and with their name on it. So that's another cool one that we'll be able to put up on the shelf and all that. So yeah, I got a few of them going, man. So I got my fingers crossed. Hopefully
you got some vig going on the money that's owed coming back to you, at least some points every week for the money on the line. I mean, it's been a while since I've gone out and collected street money, but if you find yourself in a pinch and you want to grab some of that money back, just let me know. We'll work out a side deal.
I'll hit you off with an envelope for sure. I love it, Greg. I love it. New York coming at you, brother. Well, I'm very excited to hear and all the great stuff that you got coming up. It's really inspirational to see that you're putting up your money where your mouth is. You're really making it enticing for everybody with WSA, with as far as the cash prizes. Then you also got the reality show coming out. Where is the reality show going to be? What's the platform on that? Is it going to be Tubi TV? Is that the plan?
You know what? I will say this. I have pitched it to some networks. It will land on a substantial. Obviously, I have the connections with the major stream networks. So I mean, I don't have a problem placing it. Whether we put it on Tubi or we put it on it'll be on the normal AVOD, TVOD platforms are easy for me. But what we're trying to do right now with this as well is we've got a pitch deck out there that we've presented. They want to see what it looks like after editing. You may see it on a major network, but the problem with major networks, guys, is that they're not really seen as much anymore. So what I'll end up looking to do with this is I'll look to sign some sort of an exclusive licensing agreement with one of the larger platforms to be able to take it for a 3-year with a minimum guarantee each year to be able to develop it and then go from there. I mean, in terms of licensing it, I think that's our smartest bet. Could it find itself to perhaps a Netflix or to a Paramount Plus or a Hulu? Yes. It'll be in the quality of how we shoot it. It certainly is in front of them, and they've taken a look at it. But with a lot of shows like this, it's sometimes hard for people to visualize, right? I mean, if I come to them with, and I can't come to them with Dancing with the Stars, but if you come to them with a program like Dancing with the Stars, right, and you say, well, we're going to bring in all of these celebrities to be able to dance with all of these great dancers, and we're going to have a celebrity judge, and it's going to have drama every week. They can visualize that, right? Now, if you come in with the concept, and again, I can't release what we're doing, but if you come in and we're going to have 6 guys that nobody knows that we're hoping to build a platform on that, are in the world of arm wrestling, and they're going to have stories, and, we're going to do crazy things. And, they're like, all right, that sounds pretty interesting. Let's see when it's done, and then we'll go from there. And and I know it's a different program and it's different aside. We just shot Bikini Showdown on Uncensored. Same thing, same premise. Now we've got a show that, everybody is saying within the world of entertainment, it will be the next Bad Girls Club. And you look at Bad Girls Club, Bad Girls did 17 seasons at 170 million.
We taped that in my building when I was living in Miami, and
did you really?
Yeah, I used to hang out with one of the girls. Was the girl that worked at my tanning salon. She was that girl Morgan. She was one of the stars of it and all, and I was good friends with that whole crew of girls. They were fun. I used to watch that show all the time.
Listen, and it's still living, right? I mean, that's the 17th season of this run. Now it's, in the world of in entertainment, there's the term in perpetuity, right? Forever. So, they're still getting that program licensed and licensed and licensed and licensed. And that's the neat thing about what we're doing with arm wrestling in the TV show and World Series of Arm Wrestling and Inside Arm Wrestling, sports and news channel is that, the goal is not to just be one and done. It's to be able to take this and continue to relicense it and keep paying over and over and over and over and over again to all of our content, providers. And that way, you could start off in year 1, but by the year 10, you're still making money in year 1. And, there's a rollover and there's a methodology to that. That's why seasonal programming is so advantageous to do with reality shows, is because it makes you start from the beginning each year and watch it over and over and over again. So you're continuing that process. And once you start to learn that as a business and you start to embrace it, it becomes more it becomes more of a staple to what you're doing. And that's what we're looking for the house, is to get it started, get the season done, get it seen, get the second season already, which we already have planned, season 2. Get that season 2 shot, get that season 1 out there, get it so that it's gearing up, tie it back into World Series of Arm Wrestling. So you're doing a finale on a regional, and there's a reason why people want to come out. Get the Pauls and the Matts to come out for the finales at the regionals, right? Because that way, what better way than to sit in Greg's studio, do your podcast, and get involved. It just builds a community, right? I mean, those are the things that make sense. And I think that's what we're going to get as an end result. I think we're going to get a lot of things that make sense, and translate that out to a lot of financial gain, translate that out to more success. And hopefully at the end of the day, when people see me on the streets, they don't look at me as the guy who lost to Alan Fisher and Venice Beach. They look at me as a guy that maybe owned WSA and had something to do with arm wrestling.
Captain Obvious has a question. He says, will they provide unlimited alcohol for the house, fighting and destruction of property like old Ultimate Fighter style?
Listen, you never know. But I tell you that the probability of that is very small. I don't think that. I mean, Jesse Taylor is a good friend of mine, right? I mean, Jesse is the epitome of what went wrong with the Ultimate Fighter, in a career sense. Here was a kid as a middleweight out of Poway, just up the street, a tremendous grappler, a tough kid, hands of stone. This kid had everything going. In the finale, he decides to go and kick out a bunch of limo windows and wreck a hotel room. And, Dana White comes on and says, "You're out," right? And literally takes him out for good 10 or 12 years later, gives him a second chance and doesn't happen again. And, Jesse is a unique individual. He's gone all over the world. I mean, believe it or not, Jesse has actually had, Vladimir Putin congratulate him in one of those MMA events over in Russia because of how tough he is. He came out of the stands to watch him and congratulated him. And from what Jesse said, gave him a very large monetary gift in appreciation of coming over from the States to fight there. But I mean, he could have been the world champ. He could have been the world champ if he kept it together. Ultimately, I don't want to have a Jesse Taylor event my first season, but maybe by season 8 or 9, we'll figure out a way to get everybody heavily inebriated and do some crazy things. But let's wait till season 8 or 9, so that way we have a track record of 7 behind it that we can fall back on.
Do you plan on having it in different places? Like, are you gonna, I know you're doing LA the first one. Or are you thinking of doing other areas? And yeah, that would be smart, I would think, just to have different backgrounds and all.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just even like Bikini Showdown. I mean, it's a franchisable effort, right? I mean, that's the whole premise of what we're doing is that we want to be able to create it and eventually do a house in Mexico, a house in Brazil, a house in, Italy, a house in Canada. We want to have things that are replicatable, right? I mean, ultimately good ideas that can be replicated are oftentimes extremely successful. And that's what we want to do. And geographically, when you do things in specific areas that you can pull from those casting pools, can also keep your hard costs down, right? I mean, will we bring in personalities across the U.S.? Absolutely. Are we going to bring in any international personalities? Probably not right now. But you never know. When we start to get into other areas, we can have those personalities in the Canadas, in the Mexicos, in those countries that have arm wrestling. Matt, you were saying India is a huge arm wrestling, community. Maybe house India at some point. Who knows? But we got to get through the first one, right? I mean, that's the end of the day. If we get through 1, then we can start looking at 2, 3, 4, and 5. I always try to keep everything in really good perspective. Season 1 is really my mainstay right now, but sky's the limit. Hopefully, by putting it out here tonight, we manifest it, and 3 years from now, you say, Greg, you're on the house 92. How are you keep doing this, right? I mean, it'd be great.
Good suggestion would be Miami, man. I think that would be a really hot spot for arm wrestling, and there's a lot of different activities you could do. Get a lot of eyes on. Go over to Muscle Beach. Get the table set up over there. They got all the workout equipment. You could have contests and all. That could be a fun place to do it as well.
I like Miami. I have a lot of good friends down there that own restaurants and some nightclubs, and I think that there's a plus down there. The interesting thing about Miami. And I say this only because we have, our Thursday night arm fights. We're actually working with a nightclub and a promotion out there as one of the locations for the Thursday night arm fights in 2025. Arm wrestling is not as big in that the lower peninsula of Florida that is in the upper peninsula.
Most of them are up north, but there is a few teams down south. They just started getting events going. They actually got one this weekend coming up. It's in Fort Lauderdale. Lighthouse Point is where it is, but South Florida Arm Wrestling League is starting to bring some action down there of recent now.
And that's awesome. We were originally going to go to Miami, and unfortunately, part of that fell through on an investor end. And sometimes people come and they tell you they're going to do great things, and then you ask them to decide to put the great things in motion, and they don't, and that's okay. You don't figure out who kicks tires until you ask them to open the door and put the key in. But the hardest thing about Miami is really the geography of the location. It's unique because it's such a great city. But east and west and south, there's no states that funnel in, and then you have to go 500 miles to the north just to break the Florida line. So it's a dynamic that doesn't lead for great tournament arm wrestling, in my opinion, right now. When you get to the Midwest and you've got 6 or 7 states that are in 500-600 miles in north, south, east, and west. You could start grabbing from a larger pool, but when you're in Miami, it's it's a finite dynamic, and I'd love to see it grow down there, because I think, like you said, Paul, it's an exciting place, right? It's got a nightlife, it's got money, it's got an image. You know as well as I do. I mean, going to LA and the entertainment scene. If you're somebody on record, if you've done something in entertainment, they let you in. You're the VIP. In Miami, they don't care about that stuff. Connections in Miami. You can be the biggest, internet sensation, and they won't let you through the doors. You got
to be a local down there. It's a really tight knit community,
Yep.
and I was one of the locals, and I actually became pretty famous down there. And driving around in Lambos and Ferraris, you really get known very quick. But just like you said, it's a small knit family down there. But it was so great because going to the nightclubs and all, everybody's waiting on 4-block line to get in. Now they're only accepting you got to buy a table at 10,000 to get into Club Mansion. But they see one of their local guys. I mean, they bring you right in. The drinks are free all night, so that is the one thing. If you're a local and you're known down there, you really could get connected in there very well. But it's very territorial, and people got to see you in the night scene for quite some time to consider you a local. But I definitely learned that pretty quickly down there. Yeah, you actually, in one of those videos, you actually showed my building was in the background. It was the Gansevoort in Koya. I lived like 8 blocks from where you're showing right now.
Wow. Nice. I think that there is a value. I think arm wrestling would be very successful there, but it's got to be done in a way that's unique to the area, and you have to really find a value of a sponsor or an event to couple it with that will bring the excitement, and that's one of the things that why we're looking at Miami, is because of that connection. With Thursday night arm fights, it's not just going to be arm wrestling as the staple. It's going to have an entertainment value behind it, and not to offset the arm wrestling, but to be able to bring the high rollers in, make it an event that they want to come see, put the money behind it, and package it as a high roller type event on a Thursday night. That's where we're going after with that, and hopefully that will drive that revenue and popularity, because again, we want people to want to look at the show and not only just watch, as bad as it seems, but it's true, it's a business decision, not only watch great arm wrestling, but if they look into the event and you see gorgeous women and guys that are decked out and they watch the Lambos and the Ferraris and the Bentleys and all the Bugattis roll up in the intros, and now all of a sudden arm wrestling is cool, right? I mean, it's now it's high class, and it's another component of the marketplace. And one of the things that I think I'm trying to do that maybe and hopefully is uniquely successful is that I'm not just trying to get one demographic and try to emulate it on every show. I'm trying to get multiple dynamics for each show that will hopefully feed each and every show to grow that audience value. And I think that too many opportunities are lost because it caters just to the single value. You almost have to look at where to go outside that value to be unique. And I hope
the place that you should check into, I'm saying if you did like the reality series down there is, I would think on Ocean Drive, the Clevelander, the outside club, and it's always packed. There's just so many people, and you got all the passerbyers on Ocean Drive that would, if they seen an arm wrestling event going on there, I mean, and it's exactly what you're saying with the glitz and the glamour. You got all the cars, the Lambos and Ferraris all parked right out in front of it. I always dreamed of that. I'm like, that would be the hottest spot, and it would just draw so many people in. Everybody passing by is going to stop and see that, and just panning around with the reality camera and all. It would just they wouldn't know they weren't all arm wrestlers. It would have that huge crowd. It's got all the neon lights, and it's right down the block from where he's on right now. But I think that would be just an amazing place, and they even have a rooftop bar and party party place up there. But I think the one on the main floor that's right on the outside of Ocean Drive, that would be the spot, man. So if you're ever interested in getting down over there, I could, I haven't lived down there in, I think it's like 12 years now, but I probably still know a lot of the people there. If I just went over there, and I could probably get you connected with the Clevelander and all that. So just throwing it out there, if that is something you are interested in and over there. And
I appreciate it. Now my Pinto would have to be around the corner. They're not going to put that on the show, that my 4-door green Pinto rolling through. I appreciate that, Paul. And as we grow, I mean, the whole goal is to get everybody involved, right? I mean, like I said, it's only one of me, and you know what? I continue to get my steps in the morning and burn the candle at night. But at the end of the day, the team is what builds the success. I'm looking for guys and girls to continue to grow the success and making that team work. So. Paul, that conversation will probably be coming sooner than you think. And I know that we've talked a little bit about some other stuff. So, the door is always open for exciting things and being able to put brain power, manpower, and energy behind it to grow it. So, absolutely.
Corey has a question. I think he missed the first part of the show. So he says, is all this just conversation and thoughts, or is there dates in the pipeline for a start date? May I have missed it earlier? Said, yeah, it was, it said earlier, he's already casting for The House. We're talking about the reality show that he's putting together. What was the casting start again? Was it March or April?
Well, we're gonna film in April. We're taking casting. We're gonna cut casting right after, or we're gonna cut submissions right after Thanksgiving, but we're going to start reaching out to those that have submitted, getting them NDAs. For those who are watching, NDA is non-disclosure agreement. What that really means is that if we start to have a conversation with you, legally you'll be bound to keep that confidential until a time in which the show does get released. Then you'll be more than willing and able to talk about your conversations within the casting experience, but that will start here in November after the finals. Once that starts, we find ourselves with a pool of individuals that we believe we can be successful with. We will close out casting, which I think will be probably right around Thanksgiving, and then we will go for team selection. Jamie and Jody will choose their teams. We'll announce their teams. In a very entertaining and reality way, and then we will be looking to start our production in April, and then you'll know, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we'll get through it. The finale will be June 28th in Riverside, and then we'll look to release and have a release date right there in the July-August timeframe. We'll probably release it episodically, one a week. And if everything goes right, the right platform will take us. And then once we get through that in the season, we'll be doing The House 2 and so far down the ride. So, Corey, the answer is yes. There is a timeline in it. It is in the works. But I know I'm a little bit vague or ambiguous on some of the details. I want to make sure that I'm not giving away the show before we even get to shoot the show. So
all about alligator wrestling, apparently.
So here we got Atlantis. True, what's the likelihood of being able to find a house full of arm wrestlers who are the right fit for a show like that? I don't know.
I think it's going to be
456 people in a house to play Squid Games, and somebody won 4.56 million. What was the likelihood of them being able to do that? The world of entertainment has great ways of making things happen, right?
Aaron Castillo says he's actually in the reality world. He's one of the camera guys for, I forgot which, I think Hoarders is the show that he's part of. But he says it's definitely not easy challenge. I've worked on tons of pilots and sizzles with characters that I thought were sellable that just didn't take off. And I just want to say my experience real quick. I actually was picked up by a show by Left Right Productions, and that was for the fitness modeling. And it was a team of fitness models. There was 6 of us in there. They put us in a house. They followed us around for a year. We had had 30 cameramen following us around. They would put us in different nightclubs, flying us all over the place. They would pay me $2,500 an episode. You know, it was picked up, like we went through the whole casting, the pilot was bought, all that. So we thought we were golden. We thought we were going to be, I think it was A&E. We thought we were 100% going on and all. And then Left Right Productions merged with another company, and that other company didn't see the same value, and they kind of put us on the sidelines and all. And, you know, so I've got past the pilot stage. You know, I've actually got paid for the episodes, filmed the whole season, you know, was guaranteed that we were going to come on. But I got to tell you, it was the time of my life. I had so much fun. The networking that I met, you know, going around for a year straight with a whole camera crew following you around, you definitely meet some great people and people that want to be around you and all. So it definitely has, you know, got me very well known in the fitness world. I was going to all the famous gyms, Bev's Fitness in New York, which, you know, that's like the mecca of the East Coast. And, you know, just being in there and, you know, all these famous bodybuilders seeing me with a whole camera cast around me, and then going to all the nightclubs that I grew up in Long Island, and all my friends like, dude, there's camera crew following you around. Like, what is going on right here? Like, this is pretty nuts. So it was a great experience. You know, definitely taught me a lot and all, but I also know, you know, it's very hard for it to actually be picked up and all that. And it was pretty stressful at times, you know, because they put you in some precarious situations. You know, they out of nowhere, they call you up and they tell you got to come in and we got to do an interview. And then next thing, they're trying to get you to talk shit about somebody else on, you know, one of your friends on the show, and, you know, and everything's being filmed. And, you know, then they give you ideas like, you know, maybe you should look at this. They give you like a couple of options, and they don't tell you what to do, but they give you some scenarios, and then you kind of pick where you want to go with there. So it was definitely a great time, but I definitely learned a lot from that. And, you know, I love that kind of situation. The reality shows that was a lot of fun.
Well, the fun thing is with that, and you know, after doing Bikini Showdown and a couple others, is that the one thing, Aaron, that maybe is unique. And no, you're not definitely. I don't find you being negative at all. I know your comment flipped. The answer is this: there's two streams of reality, right? There's the stream of reality that is network funded, right? So you go to a studio, they say to you, okay, we're going to take your idea, we're going to give you the production crew, we're going to produce it, we're going to create its own voice, we're going to pay you for your idea, you're going to get, you know, maybe some AP, or you might get an EP credit, you're going to get a value every year the season goes. I mean, there's a lot of ways that's done, and we deal with that. We've deal with that with Netflix, we've dealt with it with Hulu, we deal with it with Bravo, we've dealt with it with many as a distribution company, as Ready, Set, Go distribution. There's the opposite way where you take a bigger risk, but you take all the risk within your own pocket, right? And that's as an independent filmmaker in a reality show. So the answer is that I have the money, you know, knock on wood, that I've been humble enough and diligent enough to make over the course of my career, that I've got the money to be able to do my own show. So to shoot the show is not an issue. To pay for the show is not an issue. I never say anything unless the money's in the bank. I'm never on the come line. There's a lot of things that haven't worked because they were hoping the sponsors would come in, and they never did, and they fell flat on their face. You guys can connect the dots with those promotions, right? They're no longer around. The other good thing is that I'm a distributor. So I've already got the commitments to at least the AVOD and TVOD platforms. I don't have to worry about whether or not I get picked up by Netflix. I'll be on Tubi. I'll be on Pluto. I'll be on Amazon. I'll be on all of the AVOD and TVOD platforms out there. So, you know, it's a little bit unique for me, and you know, sometimes that's been my strength, is I try to take the unknowns out of it. If somebody doesn't want to buy it and give us an MG for it for seasons, you know, 2, 3, 4, and forward, that's great. But if not, you know, we've got an equation that we already know how to monetize this stuff. And I wouldn't do it if I thought I was going to lose money either. I'm very calculated on a business end. I think that's one of my strengths. So I know either way that we're going to be okay. It's just a matter of how big of a splash we can make with it. And that's the uniqueness of what I think that we have going for us at this point, at least.
That's what I keep saying, Greg. I recognize that, because I learned, have to finding, a production company to pick it up. You're the all-in-one. That's why I said that earlier. It's like you're the man that could make it all happen with his, you don't need anybody else. Yeah, if another a network picks it up, that's all gravy and all. But if it doesn't, you can make that happen. So that's why I truly believe in you, man. I've been through the process. I know the ins and outs. I know how it all works. And when you first came out with this and you kind of explained your background and all the different companies you had, I was like, bingo, this is the guy to do it. It's not always just the money. You got to have the know-how and the companies to back it up, and this guy has it. So I really believe in him, man, and I think this is going to go somewhere, guys, and we should definitely get behind him, support him any way we can. Definitely get out for the casting, everybody. He put it up there. Go send your email in, let it be known you want to be on the show. They're casting for 5 different weight classes. There's going to be 6 people on the show, including Jamie and Jody, so 5 others other than the coach. So if you think you're that personality that would really do good for arm wrestling and really be a great representative, please definitely let's help him out there, and let's get him a lot of candidates for him, a nice big pool of people to pick through, and we can make this very, very successful.
I appreciate that. I really do. I appreciate that, Paul.
And Greg, you want to just shout out one more time before we call it a night, what you got coming up November 2nd, and if people want to make their way down there, and what they got to do. You said they can't go into the open class unless you were qualified, but if you're amateur, make the trip and come hang out and experience a great day of arm wrestling.
Yeah, absolutely. November 2nd, the weigh-ins will be Friday night, normal process, Friday night weigh-ins, Saturday morning weigh-ins, 3 hours on both sides of the day, 5 to 8, then 9 to 12. Open class masters and women's is locked. You can't come in and sign up to compete in those, but we have opened it up for amateurs that are traveling with teams that we're going to come and support, but want to pull. It is only a medal class. I don't mean that to be, to take anything away from the competition. There's no cash there, so the integrity of the cash and qualifying remains. But please come down if you're an amateur and you want to pull. It'll be a great experience for you. We start with the pros first. We go down to the top 2. We take them into a private room and interview them, and then bring them back for the finals. Typically, it's a 4.5-hour day. That's been my calling card. We'll run 3 tables start to finish. Great food at the Harley. They'll have a beer garden there. The after party downtown at a good location called Park. Dress to impress. There'll be a lot of nightlife going on Saturday night. If you haven't received your itinerary in the email, that means your email bounced. But don't worry, we're going to put the itineraries up on social media tomorrow so that you guys can have them if your athlete's coming in. One of the things we got to get better at is our ability to grab penmanship. When we have guys handwrite on the waivers, their emails, the translatable value sometimes is a miss. We do our best to be able to take that from your waiver and put it to our spreadsheets, but ultimately, we try to get the information out to you as quickly as possible. 10 days out, you should see the itineraries. And I appreciate you doing that, Aaron. You've absolutely been a big supporter. And you know what? Without guys like Aaron, and a lot of guys that continue to support us, those are the faces that I enjoy coming back and seeing every year. There's a lot of people don't realize that the value of arm wrestling is not in the competition; it's in the faces that you come back and see, event after event after event. And that's what makes it so great. The competition winning is obviously, the icing on the cake, if you will. But I've never been to an event, whether I was 0-2, 2-2, and I've never been 6-0. So that means I've never really won an event. But I've never been to an event that I didn't walk away with just a great feeling of seeing all the people that I've not seen for a couple of months and catching up and seeing how their families are and their lives are going. That's the best part of arm wrestling to me. So if you can come down and support, that's great. It's a free event for you to watch. No cameras in the audience. It is a closed set. Don Underwood will be on the mic. Like I said, Sarah Backman's coming in to help support. We may have a couple other celebrities from LA, friends of mine that are saying they're coming. I don't put the names out because, you know what, I don't want anybody to come to see a certain celebrity and they not show. Unfortunately, I did that once with Aaron Rodgers, and I'll never do that again. But ultimately, we want to make sure that you have a great time. And if you don't have a great time, make sure you tell me because I want to make it better for you. And ultimately, that's the goal, right? If there's something you see you don't like, tell me. And if there's something you see that you do like, go out and tell 2 or 3 friends that you loved it, right?
I'm gonna check the flights, bro. I might pop down there. You know, I think that'd be something that I think I'm free that weekend, and as long as the flights ain't crazy. And where would be the best place to stay? Just downtown San Diego?
You know what? Hit me up afterwards because I think we have an extra room. You know, and if the person doesn't confirm, I'll work with you on that.
Okay, sounds good, brother. Yeah, I'll check the flight as soon as we get off of here, and I'll definitely send you a text and all, and maybe we can make that happen. I got experience. I still haven't got the experience at WSA. I got to come down in person. I'm not going to arm wrestle, but just to come and see everybody and you know, just hang out for the day. I definitely got to witness it for sure.
And my dad jokes, like who doesn't like dad jokes, right?
Have you got a dad joke ready to go? I'd love to hear.
Yeah, do we have any dad jokes for us right now?
No, I don't. I don't have them. You know, I got to save them for the second. That way, I get the unique smiles from the people that hear them firsthand. I'm sure to bring 2 or 3 of them out there for you.
100%. And I just always remember, bro, the first event I've ever seen in my life in arm wrestling, that was down at the LA Expo. That's where I first met you. You were there at my first one, so I'll never forget that. And I know we had a great conversation then as well. So it'd be cool to come and hang out. And I mean, San Diego this time of year, I mean, all year round is beautiful. But yeah, I think I'm gonna have to pop down there for sure.
Would love to have you. Absolutely, that'd be great.
All right, Greg, guys, anywhere else that you'd like to shout out for people to get in touch with you or just to check out any of your platforms?
You know, you were on World Series of Arm Wrestling on Instagram. You know, we're continuing to grow slowly but steady. Following us there is important. The G2F Film and Sports and Film Station on YouTube, I think we've grown over 5,000 subscribers now. We're doing well there. You know, just the normal platforms, follow us. Those are the things that matter. It helps us stay in contact with you. That's the key. If you're not watching us on Tubi or Amazon or any of the other platforms, please, you know, dial in Locked and Loaded on your Roku's. It'll take you to one of our streaming platforms and watch us there. Tomorrow I'm on the Matt Connolly podcast, so we'll shout that out. We'll do it. We have a chance to do it all again, as well as Miss Woods out there on the East Coast in the evening. So I appreciate everybody's love that's having me on to talk about it. And yeah, I mean, it's just those little things. And I say that to everyone who's watching. It's just not World Series of Arm Wrestling. You know, make sure you're following, you know, Matt's page, Paul's page. Obviously, there's a little bit of redundancy to the fact that if they're watching you, they're following you already. But, you know, we really are a big proponent when we're on the mic to make sure that you understand. As a fan, you're following as many people as you can. It's the one thing you can do as an arm wrestler and as a fan that's absolutely free, right? It takes nothing for you to hit a like button or a follow button, and that number eventually equates out to something better for the sport. So the more we get to follow each other, the better it becomes. And I practice and I preach that. I think it's important.
Amen to that. Well, I appreciate that, Greg, and we'll be in touch, brother, and I'll let you know if I get popped down there.
That sounds awesome. Guys, I really appreciate you both. I will I'll give you one of these weak right arms. There it is. I mean, look at these guys. I mean, come on. Between the ab pictures, the biceps, I'm out there struggling not to get hit every morning by these crazy, San Diego drivers that don't know what a stop sign is. And here I am with an orange hat and, a bright red T-shirt when I'm walking in the morning. And I've been hit twice walking across on a stop sign. It's like,
oh my God.
What can I do?
Well, stay safe, brother. Be careful on your walks, man.
All right, guys. I appreciate you. I'll talk to you both soon.
Have a great night, Greg.
You guys as well.
So, guys, you heard it, man. Some great things. I really, really believe in him. I believe he's the guy to do it. Like I said, I got the reality show background. I know what it takes, and he's the all-in-one guy. He doesn't need another network picking him up, and that is the biggest factor right there that's going to make this, definitely go in motion. So we'll definitely get the shot with it. Arm wrestling will be on a big platform. It's a big possibility it could go mainstream. It all matters how the people like it and all, and we could all do our part is just help them out, support them any way we can. It's got some great stuff going on as far as the league. He's putting out major cash prizes, $100,000 for this finals. So, I hope the buzz gets out there this year. So this way next year, everybody will go to all the qualifiers he's got going on. We're talking even the elites and all. I mean, they're just, I don't get it. If they're not showing up to win $10,000, then what are you doing over here, guys? So let's get behind them. And I encourage everybody in the chat, man, go out for the casting. Let's see if we can get on there. You know what I mean? That'd be a great thing for sure to be on a reality show and, be part of the house. Like he's telling me all about it. It's like bringing back all these memories of, taping with the fitness show and all that. And I'm like, yo, I want to do this again, man. So I think I'm going to go out for this casting as well, bro. So what about you, Matt? Mr. Hollywood over there, bro. Come on, dude. It's in your name, bro.
Absolutely. Well, that's the thing, is it is a massive opportunity, and he's providing a huge platform. One of the biggest promotions going out there, especially in North America, and seeing these huge prize pools, and then the network TV stuff he's putting together, and he's doing so much for the arm wrestling world. And I encourage everyone to please support World Series of Arm Wrestling.
Yeah, 100%. So I want to talk about real quick, and if Ryan Grundy, if you're in the chat, man, come join us. I sent you the link before. I told you to pop on after and all. But just want to talk about this weekend. We got so much great arm wrestling coming up, so many different events to watch. Everything's free. You don't got to pay for any pay-per-view, so just enjoy the content. First off, we got the house. It starts tomorrow night, I think like 2 a.m. on the East Coast. They're going to start their journey over to Montana. They're going to be filming everything as they're getting on the airplanes, as the City Slicker team starts making their way over to Montana. I think they got 3 flights they got to jump on to get there. So we'll get to start getting to know the characters. Then they're going to roll up on this big ass mansion that they rented, this Airbnb, and they got all the cameras going to be put everywhere. They got a hot tub going on, and it's going to be a lot of stuff, and I expect some crazy content coming from that. That's all going to be on Steve Fernandez's channel. And then actually Saturday night will be the M spot, and that's going to be the main event. They got a bunch of great super matches, and we had a bunch of the City Slickers on this past Sunday show where come hang out with Italia. It's an open community show. Anybody could come and pop on, and the City Slickers kind of just took over the whole show, and they're rolling in deep. They're so cocky and confident. They're running their mouths. The country folks, very humble and all, but I know a lot of these country folks, man, and they got Team Strong Arms out of Washington. They got 4 guys on there, and none of these East Coast guys knew these guys at all. And I'm hearing the names, and I'm like, holy shit, Sean Lester, that dude is just, he's a murderer on the table. And, the guy he's going against is kind of sleeping. He's like, I don't even know who he is. Well, bro, you're about to find out, man. This is going to be some battles going on. And then one of the real exciting matches that I seen was Dan the Nightmare Schwartz is going to be going against Playboy Roy, and I got to watch Playboy Roy a couple times in Montana at some of the other events that he did, and he caught my attention. He is the it factor. This dude's like out of like WWF. He goes and gets his win, and then he can talk, bro. This guy is like bro, it's just hilarious to watch him. And he fits the look and everything. So you know, they've been going back and forth with the banter back and forth. So you know, I'm interested to see who gets the win, and that's also my new weight class, 176. So I'm also going to be scouting out and, you know, possible matches in the future for myself. So I'll definitely be tuned in. I suggest everybody else. And then Sunday morning when we first wake up, you know, I've been going hard with this one. We have the AWE event. Matt Conley and Ryan Bowen and Dave Stockbridge, they have coming together and throwing an amazing 8-man event, double elimination. They got the young phenom Rickard Borman on there, and he is the belt holder, and they got a bunch of dudes coming at him, all the biggest dudes in, you know, New Zealand, Tahiti, Australia. They're throwing everything at this guy to see if anybody can knock him off. One of them that is very, very confident, he was on our show 2 weeks back, was Brett Coots. Dude is 17 years in the sport, wins on Ron Beth, Ryan Bowen. I mean, very experienced, and I mean, just looks like a gorilla. He's just, you know, muscled up like crazy. So that's going to be a really good one to watch. And we'll also, yeah, there it is. We got a left-hand super match going. This is going to be Rickard's first left-hand super match. And he's also going to be going against Brett Coots, who's, you know, the favorite left hand. So we're going to see, you know, how that turns out. Is Rickard's left up the par with his right? Because we know his right is just next level. We've seen him beating guys like Lachlan and Ryan Bowen with pretty much ease. I know it's practice. I know Lachlan's been saying a lot about that and didn't like how Rickard was saying that, you know, he would be the number one guy in Australia. So, you know, eventually we'll get to see that happen. And then we got another amazing match going on. We have Ashley Horetta, who is the 700-pound bench press champion of the planet. You know, no other female has ever did that. And, you know, Ashley's the one that's did it before, and she's actually going to be going to break that record, you know, next year. But she's really diving all into arm wrestling. And they got her going up against, you know, Keziah Harrington, who is the number one arm wrestling female of Australia. So this is going to be some fireworks. It's a right hand and left hand match. Super excited about this. It's all free. And what I really love about it is Matt was been telling us about the answer to getting the mainstream onto arm wrestling is to get rid of all this downtime, all this annoying setup shit where it takes a couple minutes to everybody just to grip hands and say go. Well, they're taking all that out. They're going to get right to work as soon as this event's over. They're going to start editing it up, and they're going to get it right out there for us. So when we wake up in North America Sunday morning, we will be able to enjoy some clean edited arm wrestling version. And I cannot wait because I've been so vested in this. I've been just talking it up. You know, you could even hear the speech I just gave. I feel like it's my event. I know it's so good, you know, and I did love your comment earlier, Matt, where, you know, with my Italian accent, you know, I'm giving new names to a lot of your teammates and all that. And I'm the worst with butchering up names, but
no, it's great. It was so funny. We had one of our guys, his name's Grant Law. You called him Grant Lowe, and we had Taryn Broad, who became Tarun somehow. So
it's the accent, man. You know, it's and then you guys got that Australian accent. I've been following that guy Lee Priest, and it is hilarious watching this guy talk. Like a lot of the words, they actually had this one video where it's like this doctor bodybuilder, and he's like, "Yo, I got to translate because the guy talks in Australian," and he started saying like some of the words you say, and it was so funny because I would have had no idea what Lee was saying if he didn't translate some of the words. Yeah. You got to. I'll send you the video after that. But it had me and my girl dying laughing. I'm like, it sounds like Matt right there. I was like, this is so funny right now.
Yeah, Lee has the thing that annoys me with the way that there's a certain word that he says, and it's the number 3. Instead of saying 3, he says free, like FREE, free, and it pops into my mind every time it's like it's like he's talking, and it's like a saw has gone through my brain. Like just when he says free, I'm like like it just I don't know. But he's hilarious. He's a funny guy. He's been in the bodybuilding world forever. He actually got 4th in Mr. Olympia, but they relegated him, which is the first time they've ever done this, post-event down to 6th because of complaints from the other athletes about the placing, which he thought was ridiculous, and which he went and spoke his mind about how he thinks that the judging in the Olympia was very corrupt, and he ended up getting a lifetime ban from competing with the IFBB. So, yeah, he is a very good story to tell about bodybuilding, and he's Australia's most successful bodybuilder for sure. And I think he's the same height as you. He's got 21-inch arms. His forearms are like 20 inches. He's a monster.
Yeah, he's 5'4". I think I got 2 inches on him, but
there you go.
just like you said, man, he is just massive. And Ronnie Coleman was saying that was the guy that he feared going up against, and I think he beat him 6 times. Wasn't in the Olympia, but he beat him 6 times before that. And just like you said, the politics are what ruined him in the Olympia, and as IFBB pro, there was a lot of people against him. He was very controversial in things that he would say and do. He had never had a filter. He didn't really care what people thought, and and he was before the time of like the internet, and if IG and Facebook were a thing back then, this dude would be one of the most superstars. Bro, that is amazing, but you got to see what he looked like right before he ripped up. I think he was like 2021, and he used to just eat fast food nonstop all day.
Oh, yeah. I've seen that. It was an article in Flex magazine. He had this big gut, and he was with a bucket of chicken, like KFC chicken or something. Yeah.
Bro, he couldn't believe what he looked like. He was, the legs on him were just he was so fat, but not fat. He was 280 pounds and 5'4". And then all of a sudden he decides to rip up, and a year later, I mean, he looked like this. And they said that he had the best arms, to date. And I think there's a video out of recently him talking about arm wrestling. And I think one of the thumbnails that had him and Angen holding hands back in the day. He must have went to Turkey or something like that. But I got to bring up the video on that and all that. But I think he does have interest in that was him. But there was this one where he was even bigger, like thicker, and you couldn't believe it. And all the other bodybuilders just couldn't get over the size of this dude. And then to see him 1 year later looking like ready for the Olympia, they couldn't believe it. The dude was a freak show. But I definitely that's it. That's the picture right there. That was what. Yeah, there's a video out on the internet with that, and him walking in, and he had problems walking. Like his legs would rub up against each other. They were so friggin' big. His calves were bigger than everybody's quads. I mean, imagine 5'4", 280, solid like that that's a brute. I wish we would have got him into arm wrestling back in the day. That would have been holy shit, man.
This guy, like, he was natural up until 19, I believe, and he won the world championships as a natural bodybuilder, and then there was a lot of corruption, as with most organizations. There seems to be corruption that goes on in politics and all the rest of it. But he won the world championship, like the youth title or something, and then they said that he'd failed a drug test, and he's like, I was completely natural. I'd never taken anything. And he goes, I started a lawsuit against them and everything, and spent like $20,000 or something to try to clear his name. And then in the end, it was like, oh, look, it's an amateur title, whatever. If they want to ban me, they're going to ban me. But then he moved on to the professional side of things and started. He was probably one of the first bodybuilders that was very open about his steroid use. And I mean, that's another reason that there was so much controversy around him, because he wasn't afraid to hide it. He was like, no, I take these things, and from what he lists, the stuff that he uses isn't that much. Like he goes, most of the time people tell me the amount that they're taking. He goes, I just about keel over. Like I can't believe that these people are taking so much stuff. But he's got that natural genetics that he could walk past the weights and he would put on muscle. He was just an absolute monster.
Yeah, it was crazy. And I mean, he used to eat real dirty and all. And I did see the video where he was saying that he didn't really do that much as far as steroids. It was, more of like a final touch. You would do all the hard work, and then you know, that last before getting on stage was the final touch, and that's what he used steroids for, which that's a great thing. And I don't know if you guys know, with the bodybuilding world, it's run like kind of like the mob is, you know. It's got the head boss over there, and you know, this is true shit, man. Like I'm really connected in with these guys and all that. And you know, the guy that runs it, I believe his name is Jim Manchin, and you know, if you don't kiss the ring, you know, you're done in this sport. And you know, there's a lot of shady shit that goes in there, and you know, everybody's gotta bow down to that guy, and if you don't, you know, you're gonna have some problems. And then Steve Weinberger is right under him. I'd say the consigliere and all that. It's a very good friend of mine. He owns Bev's Francis in New York. I've been a member there for 25 years, and that's where I taped that reality show. So I got very connected with everybody over there. But yeah, the bodybuilding world is, you know, lock and key, and it's kind of like how arm wrestling's turning into these days as well. And you know, they kind of have their monopoly, and you know, there's, you know, Jim Manchin's son, you know, I think he was getting into the camera side of things, and was taking all the female bodybuilders and putting their pictures on, you know, not only fans, but kind of like sites like that. And if these girls weren't agreeing to it, you know, they were kind of, you know, thrown out of the bodybuilding world. And a bunch of them came out, and, you know, they made all these lawsuits and sexual harassment charges. So there's a lot of stuff that's kind of shady, and a lot of politics involved. And, you know, you can't go and throw an event unless, you know, you're in good graces with these guys, and you got to pay up to the boss. And a couple of my guys used to, you know, try throwing events, and it was just, you know, you had to know the right people to be around and all that. So, you know, kind of like where we're at with, you know, arm wrestling's in that beginning stages, you know, but you know, it's big money worldwide, you know, with the bodybuilding, and you know, they control that very big time.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's so frustrating. I remember Kai Green, when he was going against Phil Heath, they had that tremendous battle, which which Phil Heath was declared the winner, and then everyone was looking forward to the next year. And you know, following both guys throughout the year, they're training the off season, like leading up to the Olympia, and then like I think it was 2 or 3 days before the Olympia happened, Kai Green got told you can't compete, or they had an argument over a booth. So they have a big expo, like the Olympia is a big expo, and they have the pro show on that as well. And Kai wanted to have a booth, like to, you know, sign autographs and do all that sort of thing, sell merchandise. And they wanted to charge him for it. And he said, "Look, I'm the guy on your posters. Like, I'm selling this event. You know, you're going to charge me for having a booth?" And like, "Yeah, that's how it works." And he's like, "Well, I'm not going to compete then." And they're like, "Fine, don't compete." And so he did compete.
Well,
Man.
there's a bigger story behind all that also, and we used to hear it all the time, because you know, I was really good friends with Steve. I was very good friends with Kai. I used to hang out with Kai all the time. He would come, you know, his home gym was in Queens, but he would come in the Bevs, you know, months before, and he would do all the posing in front of Steve. Steve would tell him what to work on, Steve being the head judge of the Olympia and all. And I used to I'm very good friends with Kai. You know, we used to train all the time, and you know, we would sit at the desk and have meals together, because that was like the thing to do. You would train, and then you would hang out for a few hours there and all that. But the whole thing, yeah, there you are with Steve Weinberger. That's the man right there. But the whole thing that really ruined Kai, and they wouldn't give him the Olympia, and there was a couple of times when it was very close, where it could have went either way. And it was the politics of there was this video that went out when Kai Green, I believe, was like 18, 19 years old, and he did some weird shit with a grapefruit, you know, and that went viral, you know, and it was just a very bad look to give him the Olympia title.
Yeah.
And then that video come out, and I know that video is taken down and, you know, hidden very well, but everybody in the bodybuilding world knows of that. And that's what the politics was behind that. And they would not let him get the title. Even if he came in looking better than Phil Heath, he never was going to win that. So that was partly in his decision, you know, and why they would also mess with him. And they were trying to get him kind of to bow out and all. And I guess that whole thing with the, you know, the booth and all that was just a catalyst they could use to get him out of there and not keep going at competition. And then I used to go out to Colorado all the time. I used to live there, and I used to hang out with Phil Heath and the owner of that. I can't remember his name right now, but I was good friends with the owner of that gym. And
Metroflex gym.
no, that's Texas. It's in Colorado. It was Armburst. His last name is Armburst. And that was the Midwest Mecca. And that's where Phil's home gym was. And Phil would be in there 8 hours a day. And I believe the owner was Kevin Armburst. And, that was kind of like his coach. And, we'd all just hang out all the time. And I was very good friends with them too. So I used to hear that side of the story as well. So, I pretty much was connected with all these guys. And, a lot of them were really good friends of me and all that shit. And that's where I learned a lot of my background of, with the PEDs and, as far as with my coaching and, I'd be hanging out with these guys and then, I would go and get their coaches, which these coaches don't take anybody on, but, I was a presence, everybody knew me in the world. So, they would let me come and train with them. And, I'd get these amazing coaches where everybody be like, how did you get that to be your coach and all that? And, was hanging out with these guys. Yeah, Charles Glass, that was such an experience. He would just take all this different approaches on, he would use equipment at the gym in a whole other way that nobody else would use. And you would hit these angles. And, I used to live in the gym 2-3 times a day, before I'd start training with him. And then I would go to him and it was like starting new. You would be sore, like you couldn't believe because you were hitting all these different angles and doing all this crazy different shit that you never even dreamed of. Like, he was just a genius. Like he just would see things in a whole different way. And what an experience just, hanging out with him. And he's one of those like typical Cali guys, like with the philosophy, and he's just very laid back and, just being around him was pretty cool, man. So I got to train with him for a couple of years. And
Wow.
then when I went back to the East Coast, Dr. Camp was the other guy that, I got coached by him, and he taught Kevin English, Sadiq Kadizovic, a lot of the physique guys. And now he's actually the Ironman. He writes every month for the Ironman and all that. He's really, really well known out there. And he took me to a whole nother level. He showed me how explosive training, and, I was able to bench 405 at that time, and I thought I was the man. And then, he took me down to 225, and I had to start exploding with it. And it went from being able to put up 405 to, 225. I was having problems with the way he was doing it. But after training like that for a year straight, holy shit, my power just was at a whole nother level, and the explosion that I would have on everything was just next level. And what that would do for your growth was just amazing, man. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff in that world, man. Definitely. And I'd love to get Lee Priest on here. I definitely would love to get him on for an interview if that was some way possible. Maybe I'll reach out to some, like when I go back to New York in November, maybe I'll talk to Steve, see if he has any connections with Lee, or maybe if Matt, if you could, somehow get in touch with him out there, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll give it a go. I know that he's relatively difficult to get like hold of to jump on shows. He doesn't do it that often, but if it's somebody that is connected, that reaches out to him that he knows or whatever, he'll more than likely respond. I think he doesn't really respond to random requests or whatever, but it would definitely be amazing to get him on. He is an incredible story. As we said, IFBB ban. But then he came back from that and ended up winning the Mr. Universe, which is, not IFBB affiliated, but seeing his journey through that, doing it, I think he was doing it for his grandparents, or he was doing it for his grandfather or something. And there was a fantastic photo of the night before the competition, and he'd fallen asleep on the couch. He was all tanned up, and when you've got all that pro show tan, it gets stains on
everywhere.
So he was wearing like a smock thing, it's like a blanket with a head hole, like a barber's thing. And he'd fallen asleep holding his picture of, I think it was his grandfather, and his mate saw that and took a photo of it. And I was like, what a wonderful moment. And then he went and won the show the next day.
That's amazing. The one thing I don't miss is that smell of that spray tan when you would go to those events with everybody sweating, and you could smell the testosterone in the air and that spray tan shit. Oh man, I do remember that. I do not miss that part of it.
Yeah. Did you ever compete in the show?
Nah, bro, I never competed, but I got more famous in that world than everybody else. I made a bunch of IFBB pros, though. I knew how to do it. One of the guys that I trained came IFBB pro in his first show. He won the New York Pro. And, I made 3 female pros. I used to train with a team of, it was 5 girls. And, that was like my clique for a couple years. And I really brought them to a whole nother level. One of the girls never lifted before that, but I seen, she had the drive and the want. And when I first got together with her, she couldn't even do one pull-up at the end. She used to go around town and just challenging all the guys. And I mean, she would bust out like 50 pull-ups like it was nothing, like just an absolute beast. And then that was like the ending when she got her IFBB card, and she made a whole big thing to me. And she actually was on Cake Boss, that show with the Italian guy, and they came into Bev's gym, and I got to meet him and all, and they made a whole cake of her, in her bikini like this. It was the replica of her, and she had the belt on, and that was when she was the IFBB pro, and they had me on there for like, I think it was like 20 seconds, just telling how I was her coach, and got her to that level. And she actually used to work at Bev's at the front desk for like a year, and she used to get me connected with everybody. When anybody would come in, that was like a big name, because they used to come from all over the world, before their events. She would call up, she's like, yo, so and so just got here, get down here. I used to live 15 minutes from the gym, so I would just race down there. And I became good friends with Dana Lynn Bailey. That was like my little homegirl, and we used to train all the time. And that was so cool, bro. Everybody would be like, yo, how the hell are you hanging out with Dana Lynn Bailey? And she used to love me. She used to come jump right in, give me a big hug, and everybody's looking like, holy shit, bro, that is fucking cool, man. So and then I had what's his name, Phil Aviti, I can't remember his name. He was a big time pro down in Florida. He was married to Ava Cohen for a while. Phil Alvisi. Yeah, he was my coach. Yeah, him and Ava Cohen were my coach for a year. And when I was living down in Miami, I used to drive up to Delray Beach, and they would get me all my supplements. We would get a training day. We would make all this footage, and I ended up staying friends with Ava over the years. Phil had some legal problems, and I think he might have went away for a couple years. I think it was all the juice he was doing kind of made him crazy and all. But me and Ava Cohen, well, every 6 months or so, I'll send her a message, and we just stay in touch and all. And she's still big time involved in the bodybuilding world. She was super, super famous. That was like before the YouTube days, and she was on all the covers of all the magazines and all that shit. So
yeah,
lots of fun.
I'd love to get your answer to this question, but because I mean, you look phenomenal in your photos and everything, and I know that you train ridiculously hard, and you have fantastic coaches. But when you see these guys that are at the Olympian level, like what are they doing different to everyone else? Is it just the genetic factor combined with everything else that you're doing, or is there another element to that?
It's the juice that they're taking. First off, they're willing to go to that next level, and they're taking insane amounts of juice. But the ones at the top level, they were gifted with the genetics, meaning they had long muscle bellies. That's the main thing, which Steve could kind of look at you right away and tell you if you would have that, that you would eventually be there one day. He would kind of be straight up, and he would ruin a lot of people's like dreams, like, because he was that dick. He had no problem telling you that, nope, you'll never be that elite level, but you'll be good, but you're never going to be the best, so don't even bother. But also the eating and everything, and being willing to put all that food in you. And I used to watch them eat all the time. I'm telling you, I would hang out at Bev's 8 to 10 hours a day. Like, all my homies were all there. So I would train 2-3 times a day, but the rest of the time I'm hanging out at the front desk eating meals with everybody. It sounds weird, but that's what you guys did, and that was like our bonding thing. So I used to watch Kai Green eat, and it was like every hour, they'd even stop in the middle of their workouts, and they're taking all these different formulas and drinks and intra workouts during it, and it's insane the stuff they're doing. And then I knew exactly the juice they were doing. We all used to get from the same guy, and it was, my coach was, they called him the doctor of the Olympia stage. And remember I was telling you about, like, we used to have classes. It was an underground gym, and we would have like a seminar every 3 months, and they'd have the doctor panel come in, and these doctors were all cool with, you know, steroid use. They would actually teach everybody the proper way to do everything, and then they would hand out their business cards, and you would go to their offices and you would get all your blood work done, and then you would take that blood work and you would hand it to our coach, and he would look at everything and he would tell you exactly what you got to change in your nutrition, what chemicals he thinks that you should take, where you want to go with this. So I mean, it was a more healthy way of doing it. So you were being monitored by actual doctors that were on board. But if you go to the other doctors, man, they don't really give you that. Their first answer when you say, should I do something? No, you shouldn't do that. You're going to die. Like, you know, and you're just looking like, bro, I'm going to do it no matter what, bro. I want to do this the right way. Can you please at least, you know, guide me? And, you know, you never could find that. But, you know, this panel of doctors, you know, some of them were ex-bodybuilders, you know, some are still in the fitness world. They would, you know, really help us out and, you know, at least guide us in the right way. And doing your blood work, you'd at least be doing it and knowing what you're doing and what your levels are at and what you could handle and what you couldn't. So that was a great experience. And but what I was saying is, you know, they were willing to take Trend to a whole nother level, and that was the biggest one that I seen, and that's when they all started keeling over. And a lot of the guys that, you know, went that bodybuilding route, you know, they're scared today because they watched all their friends just dying, and they're knowing they're taking those same dosages, but they're also stuck because they didn't do anything else with their life. And they're all in, and, you know, and now they're towards the end of their career. And if they want to stay successful, they still got to keep those dosages going, knowing that their friends, you know, passed away. And I'm talking like, you know, a gram a day of Trend, you know, dudes were doing, you know, like that. I mean, then they, as soon as we'd be done working out, they'd go right to the bathroom and take their insulin syringe. You know what I mean? So it was just, you know, you had to bring it to another level if you wanted to be at that top level, but you also had to have genetics with you to get to that level. But with the physique and the classic physique, the reason why they did that, which a lot of people didn't know, is so that you didn't have to take those tremendous amounts of dosages and all. And, you know, one of my dear friends, he's one of the best physique guys to ever live. You know, he was number 2 in the first Olympia, a bunch of the first few Olympias in the physique, and that's Sadiq Hadizovic. And he's very honest. And, you know, he literally was one of my little guys. He used to come to my penthouse in Miami, and we do all the filming. He was part of that team Shredded and all that. And, you know, they just stuck with it. You know, I was in that circle where all those guys were on the Olympia stage in physique, but he would always be honest, and he called it the 3 brothers. So he would call up his coach and he's like, I'm about to be on stage. It's ready for the 3 brothers. And what that was he was going to take Test, Masteron, and Trend. And it was only, it was a gram, it was 1 cc of each every 2 days. And he would only do that for like 2-3 months right before. And that was the final touches. And then the rest of the year, he would just run TRT, you know? So that was more of like something that your body could handle. You weren't maxing it out. You weren't pushing it. And, you know, they still looked, that was him. That was board shorts. You know, I helped him pick those out. You know, that was at his very beginning, you know. He trained from, you got to see what he looks like these days. I mean, he looks better than the second picture over there. His legs are insane. But I think he's got like 5 or 6 million followers on Instagram. And, you know, he stuck with it, bro. And back then, you know, I was more popular than him. Like a couple of the guys on the team were more popular than him. It's just, he never stopped. It's just when I was there, bro, it was no money in it at that. They were fighting for, I think it was 5,000 for the Olympia, you know, and I'm running 2 businesses that making some serious money, and to put my whole devotion into that, it just didn't make sense then. But, you know, now he's living lovely, man. He's buying a bunch of houses, and he's got all the toys. He's got a nice family and all. And, you know, he's got all these supplement companies that, you know, he's on salary with. So he's doing very well these days. But it was a grind, bro. At first, you know, 5-6 years, you know, they were just living, you know, like pretty much in their parents' house and just getting by. And every month was a stress. And, you know, the time you had to put in the gym and all that. So, you know, definitely, what an experience though, just being around these guys. And now to look at them now and you're like, holy shit, these are like the top dudes in the whole bodybuilding world is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think you did it the right way. I mean, you went establish the businesses, but you're able to enjoy the fitness industry at the same time. Keep your health. Don't have to worry about winning a competition to make money. It's like, well, if I want to do a competition, I can, but I'm doing it for the fun of the actual event. I don't have to be like, I need to win to be able to earn money to be able to live. That's
Well,
different.
I used to make the real money though was in the photo shoots. I used to make 250 to 500 an hour, and I do 8-hour photo shoots.
Wow.
And so I mean, I used to get real paid when I was living in Miami. That's why I moved down to South Beach, and I had all the top photographers hitting me up. And the funny story is when I first met them, I was just kind of pushed into this world. I didn't even know this was a possibility. I was, I'm like 5'6", and I'm like, yo, guys, what don't you see? And they're like, no, you take good pictures, your abs are a whole nother level and all. But I go into the tanning salon one day, and that's actually where the bad girl worked that we were talking about earlier, Morgan. And these girls, I see my boy on a cover of a magazine, and he's on my team Shred. So I was so excited. So before I even looked what the magazine was, I was like, yo, that's my boy on there. And all the girls just freeze, and they're just kind of looking at me weird. And I'm like, what the fuck's wrong? And they're like, what are you, gay or something? And it was a gay magazine. And I'm like, oh my God. So I hit my boy up. I'm like, and I know he's not gay. This dude is a player of the players. He gets all the women. I was like, bro, you're on a cover. And he's like, yeah, really? I was like, but yo, it's a game. He's like, what the fuck? So what I learned early is these photographers, you would sign your contract. They could use your pictures for anything, and they wouldn't tell these guys they're putting them on the covers of gay magazines. So I remember that day going into the tanning room. I feel so embarrassed that these girls are like looking at me kind of weird now. I mean, you're living South Beach, so most guys down there are little faggy and all that. So I called this dude up, and as I'm in the tanning room, my head photographer, and I said, hey, listen, bro, I just seen Steve's picture on the cover of a gay magazine. I said, yo, let me explain something, brother. I'm not like a typical fitness model. My picture shows up on one of these fucking magazines, you're gonna end up in my trunk. And this dude was just like, yo, what the fuck? Nobody's ever spoke to this guy like that in his world. His name is Louis Raphael. He's a big time photographer in Miami or whatever. But now he's like, it's only male models and all. But after that day, bro, these dudes would always run everything by me, and a word got around to the other photographers, and they thought I was crazy. They're like, all right, you got to make sure you don't put Paul Italia in somewhere that he don't want to be, or
That's
but
fair, man. I've had the same thing happen. I've done, my very first thing I ever did in acting or modeling or anything was nude modeling.
Oh my God, holy shit.
Yeah, and not like for an art class, like photography.
That's pretty crazy, man. Yeah, I got a few offers for that. I never went in that route. I never went to that. How did that all happen? Like, how did you get into that? Like,
well, I was trying to get into the modeling industry, and being in Adelaide, which is a smaller city, there's not a lot of work that was happening, and I was like, I really want to do this. I want to give it my best effort. And so I was just sending like my portfolio to every place I could, and I had an agent and all the rest of it. But I was like, stop that! I'm gonna reach out myself. And the only one that I could sort of get into was this nude modeling thing. And I was like, well, if I start at that's the hardest possible thing I think that I could do. If I start at the hardest thing and then I'll move on, everything else will be easy from there. But it worked out really well because the guy who did it did a great job, great photos and everything like that. Really freaking weird when you get photos back and they're, it's like, oh my God, I don't want to look at these myself. But then that led to a big networking community of professional photographers that were doing non-nude stuff, but actual modeling work. And so I got into like 15, 16 jobs from that in the next year because I did that first one, because no one would do it. Like no one wanted to do that. But sometimes you gotta take a risk and just put yourself out and see how it plays out. But it worked out well for me in those terms. But as I said, it was like, if I start at the hardest possible thing for me, or I guess most people would balk at that, and that's why they were finding it so difficult to get anybody. Then everything else should be fairly simple because you've actually got clothes on.
That's it, bro. And it's just like you said, man, it's getting that one opportunity. And I just remember getting on with that Louis Raphael when I went out on his website, and after that, everybody came knocking. Every photographer in Miami wanted to shoot me, and then I started getting known as the bad boy in the modeling thing. I was driving around. That's where I got the nickname. I had the 458 Italia Ferrari, so they liked the whole Italian style and the bad boy look. And I was a wild one back then, and I was all in the club scene, and every day I had 5-6 girls around me, all the most beautiful women. So then I started doing a lot of those crazy couples shoots. I shot with a bunch of playmates. Lauren Celeste was one of the big famous ones. We did a real erotic kind of photo shoot together, and that shit just took off everywhere. And shit was just getting crazy. And that's when the reality show, I got that opportunity. And then the way we did it was we made a team, and it was called Team Shredded, and it was 5 of us, and those were all the guys that were on the Olympia stage years after that. And that's what really stuck us out more than everything, because if you got one of us, all 5 of us would show up for your photo shoot, and we all had our own different looks, and we all had big followings. So, that really just took everything off. Everybody was talking about Team Shredded, and then we started doing all these posters, and, everybody was paying us like ridiculous money. And then I remember I used to wear Armani Exchange. That was like when that was like the hot shit to wear. Well, I get hit up, and next thing I know, I'm shooting on their summer catalog, and I got the Armani Exchange, and, that was really cool. And then I remember an agent came, and she picked me up, and she was like, I'll do everything for free. You don't got to pay me. She just was like a cougar. She wanted to be around me and all that shit. So she had a podcast. It was called Cougar Chat. And I just remember my mom and all my family would listen, and they would just be going nuts, because you'd have all these older cougars. I'm in my 20s, and they'd be calling into the show, and they all used to try winning a video date with me. And, you would get 1 hour with me to talk and all this shit. And then, all these ladies started flying me all over the world. I had these like famous, they were like, they had a private jet, this girl in San Diego, and she would fly into Miami on Tuesdays. And at one of the hotels, the Delano, was where all the famous cougars would come in and find all the male models. So, I would go and stay at the Delano, and I'd have all these cougars come in there. And next thing you know, she'd be flying me out on her private jet for the night just to go out to dinner. And it was just, bro, it was crazy, man. What an experience I was having. And what they liked about me is most of these dudes didn't have money, but I already was set. I had the Ferrari, the Lambo, so I didn't need any of that. So that was part of the appeal that they loved. And it was crazy time. That Miami lifestyle was just nuts. But I also, at the end of that time, I had a girlfriend, and that just ruined like the whole the girlfriend thing didn't last long down there. But that girl was into girls with me as well. But it was just, it was some wild times, those Miami days with me and all that.
Yeah, it sounds incredible. I remember you were telling me just some of the stories that you've done, and I was like, you're living the life that I always dreamed of when I was a teenager.
Yeah, it was a good time. I mean, you guys could find all this shit online. I was all over Google with it, and my fitness modeling days, all my pictures, all the different jobs that I did, Armani Exchange, and, a bunch of other ones that I'm forgetting. I was sponsored by the Italia clothing line, that came to part, and they contacted me. They're like, oh, is that really your name? And I was like, yeah, that's my work name and all. So they flew me into New York, and did all these photo shoots over there, and was on Model Mayhem. And bro, and you got to understand, man, before this, you took my picture, we were going to have a problem. I came from a background where we didn't want people taking our pictures and all that. So, I wasn't into all that. I just, when I got down to Miami, I just loved working out every day. And I was just jealous. I'm like, yo, these people look so much better than me. I got to catch up. So I just lived in the gym, tanning and getting my abs on point. Next thing, you start looking different than everybody else. And, shit just started coming your way. And like I said, some lady came up to me in the gym, and she's like, I'm a photographer. I'd love to take your pictures. I said, yo, sweetheart, I'm not into all that. Where I come from, I was like, I'm not used to taking pictures. She's like, how about I do this? I follow you around for the next week, and, I'll act like I'm not there. and let's just take pictures, you know? So I'm like, fuck it. My boy was staying in with me from New York. He was my cook. You know, I grew up with him and I wanted to help him out. So I let him stay at my house and he would cook me all the meals all day. He was like a professional chef, and, you know, he'd keep me on time every 3 hours. I had my meals, 6 meals a day and all. And he was like, yeah, let's do it, bro. That'd be fucking cool, bro. And so, you know, we have this lady following us around. She was a really good looking lady too. And she would just take pictures all the time. And, you know, after a while, I just came comfortable. You know, at first it was very awkward and the pictures I was taking were not looking good. But after like a week or so of doing this, shit started taking off. And then she was posting them on her website at that time. And then the photographers started coming in. And then like I said, when that one Louis Raphael found me, and that was like, for him to put you on his site, you had to be on that next level. And when that happened, it was nuts. And then I couldn't believe it. And all my friends are like, yo, bro, you better be charging $250 to $500 an hour. I'm like, are you for real? I'm like, just to take pictures right now? It's like, I'm having a good time. I don't really need the money and everything. And they're like, bro, you need to cash in on this shit. So now I'm like, all right. So every time they would call, I would just raise the price, and they never would say no. And they were all excited. And they're like, can you bring your buddies? And I was like, you're going to pay them the same? And they're like, yes. The next thing, we're getting paid $500 an hour, you know, doing shots all over Miami and Fort Lauderdale. And, you know, it got to be like, you know, every 2-3 days I'm doing a photo shoot, and, you know, they go on for like 8 hours, and, you know, driving there, you're getting paid, coming home. I mean, it was crazy, bro. So I couldn't believe it was going down. But and then just the people you meet, you know, they'd have all these other models coming in from all over the world, like from Italy and all that. So when they would come in, they'd want to put a show on. So they knew I would come rolling up in a Ferrari or a Lambo. So they'd be like, yo, why don't you come hang out with so-and-so, knowing then they could use one of my cars in their photo shoot, and they would do a bunch of pictures of us together. And, you know, I'm not going to complain. You're bringing all these hot ladies, you know, Italian models from all over. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm going to hang out, bro. And then they see me at my car, and I'm like, hey, sweetheart, you want to come back? I got a bachelor pad over here. You want to come hang out? So, I mean, I was just fucking loving it. Me and all the playmates, all the porn stars, and they had the porn star convention. I remember walking in there and everybody knew me, and I was just like, yeah, I got a nice penthouse in the area. Come on over, let's have a party. You know what I mean? It was crazy.
Amazing.
Yeah,
it is weird though, like when you first do like those couples photo shoots and you've just met that girl like 30 seconds ago, and now you're laying like that, you know, she's draped all over you, and you try to yeah, it's like, oh, okay, this is different. Yeah, it takes a little while to get used to it, to be able to like, you know, A, stay professional, and then B, get a good shot out of it. But yeah, it's pretty funny, isn't it? Like to go from whatever a normal job would be, you know, and then the next day maybe you're doing something like that, and it's like, how did this happen?
Yeah, and I was one of those guys. I never had the normal job. It was always something fucking crazy. But this was one of those times where it just and it would bring me into other things, bro. You know, then when I got into the whole hip hop concerts and all, I was used to being around these big time people, and it's like you could just be in any room and be comfortable, and people would feel that. You know, I'd come in the room and I wasn't intimidated by anybody, and you know, I'm dealing with guys like Lil Wayne and, you know, Rick Ross and, you know, Chris Brown, and it didn't rattle me at all, you know. And it was like they would feel that vibe, and it just made you like, you know, you just fit wherever you were. And it was just it was such a great experience. And that's why when we're talking about this arm wrestling reality show, that's like all the shit that's coming in my mind is like, it's all that past. And I'm like, oh, you guys have no idea how much fun you guys would have, you know, if you could get on this show. Holy shit, man, it would be amazing, you know, and opportunities it brings. And then just people Googling you, like, you know, and that's the first thing that comes up, that you're on a TV show and all that. I mean, that was, you know, that was pretty wild and very cool shit.
Oh, yeah. There you go. Well, my kids have just gotten home from school, and I haven't seen them for a month, so I'm going to go and say hello and give them some gifts from India, and Yeah.
Hell yeah, bro. I'm glad you're home. I'm glad you made it home safe. I can't wait for this weekend. Sunday morning, I'll be up bright and early. Can't wait to check that out. Everybody, AWE Underground. Make sure you get over there, subscribe right now. And I want to thank everybody in the chat for hanging in. I'm sorry if I just bored you with all this friggin' crazy talk of my modeling days and all, but it was bringing a lot of great memories back and all that. But thank you guys. And if you haven't already, please smash that thumbs up button. Help us get in the algorithm. And also one other thing is check out our new platforms on Facebook and Instagram. Matt has started the Arm Wrestling Buzz podcast page. We're gonna start building that up, and like I said, we're also gonna be building an Arm Wrestling Buzz international show, and that's gonna be a total different day, total different hours. We're gonna get a bunch of people from all over the country, from all over other countries, and give them the spotlight. You know, guys that are big time arm wrestlers in their country, but they might not be known in North America. We're gonna start focusing on guys like that, and also definitely keep your eyes and ears out for that. We'll be announcing that very soon. As soon as Matt's done with this great event this weekend, we're going to really focus on making that international show. Thank you again, Matt, for being a great co-host, brother. Appreciate it. Let's see that gun show.
I gotta slide up the sleeves. There was a catch on them.
Better have a license for those, bro. Hell yeah.
That's it. Good stuff.
Have a great night, brother. I'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Matt.